Hey everyone, welcome to FanFic Canon. Thanks for hitting play. I'm thrilled to bring this fan-made story to life for you. If you enjoy the ride and want more narrated fanfics, smash, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. And if you want audiobook of a novel of your choice, join my Patreon. Request any title that's freely available online, and I'll produce a full narration just for you. Now, let's dive into today's adventure.
When Kamura and Asuka of the Heavenly Court cooperated to spread a soft cloth on the ground and took out some lunch boxes and the like from the backpack by the way, Jiang He looked at his system panel with peace of mind. Name, Jiang He. Skills, Elf Visibility, Heart of Top-Notch Mirror and Water, Red Dragon Seal, Dragon Head Seal, Dragon Heart Seal, Dragon Tail Seal, the Red Dragon's disciplinary power that actively engages in dark duels. Currently owning card groups. Kill Dark Master card group once, Lava Demon God card group, Sneaky Bird card group. Yingxing card group, Disturbance card group, Dragon Destroying Sword card group, Divine Light Declaration card group. Mood value. 2100. 2 days ago, I took the opportunity to collect a wave of wool from the squinting-eyed Dade Temple teacher, earning thousands of emotional points. Now he also has enough emotional points to exchange for a new 863 Underworld deck. Jiang He immediately looked at the refreshed 4-system exchange options. System Mall, refresh every 2 days, today's options, card group, Vampire card group, Kamura version, 500 points. Card group, Wu Maiden card group, Unlimited Underworld, 1500 points. Card group, Tomb Guard card group, Underworld Cutting Blood Flow, 1500 points. Skill, Perfume Tactics, the ability to predict the first card above the deck, 3000 points. Holy fellow, you actually developed such a skill. Seeing the skill exchange option called Perfume Tactics, the expression on Jiang He's face couldn't help being weird. If he remembers correctly, it seems that among the companions of Duel King Muto Yugi, there was a woman who knew this trick at the beginning. Put a variety of perfumes with different scents on the card, and smell the fragrance to judge what card is next. I didn't expect that this time the system exchanged options and gave him such a skill, Jiang He muttered in his heart. It's just that this ability to him now seems a little tasteless. After all, duelists who have the ability to see elves in the dueling world here, or duelists who have a bond with the deck, don't need to use this trick. Not to mention, he still has the top-notch Inka ability of Ding Jing Zhai Shui, which is completely sufficient. If the exchanged emotional points were lower, Jiang He would not mind exchanging them. But this is enough to exchange for a Red Dragon Seal's emotional points, so he has no interest at all. Therefore, after seeing the skills of the 4th system exchange option at the first glance habitually, Jiang He directly looked at the exchange options of the other 3 decks. Especially the 2 authentic Underworld decks. This Wu Maiden deck is obviously based on the ability to special summon each other through monster effects, and then cooperate with the magic card to put the monsters in the cemetery back into the deck. To achieve the infinite effect of the Underworld Infinite Drag Family Mouth Flow. And the latter deck of Tomb Keeper is completely mutated from the original deck of Tomb Guard. When it comes to the Underworld Index, obviously the latter is higher. Especially considering the opponent who was going to duel this time, Jiang He directly and decisively chose the latter. He remembered that before, this Underworld Tomb Guard card group was spawned once in the system options. Didn't expect it to pop up again this time. If you don't exchange a wave, show a wave of what is called real face-to-face account hacking to the dueling monster elves of the Tomb Guards, and teach on the spot. Jiang He felt sorry for this Nether Tomb Keeper deck, and it was swiped out from the exchange option of the system store for the second time. Students from Tianqing Yuan Jiang He, please share some lunch boxes with the teacher. Just as Jiang He finished exchanging the card group, he saw not far away, the narrow-eyed teacher of Dade Temple was begging for food with tears in his eyes towards him and Asuka. And beside the teacher of Dade Temple, there is an empty backpack that has just been opened. Inside the backpack was a fat brown cat with rice grains on its mouth that had just eaten a bento, showing its head. Obviously, the bento brought by the cat slave Dade Temple teacher has already been eaten by the fat cat who sneaked into it. Jiang He couldn't help but see the corner of his mouth twitch, and he really wanted to complain a bit. At any rate, he is also the strongest among the 7-star dark duelists, someone who really knows how to use alchemy. A fat cat hid in your backpack and didn't even notice. But seeing this situation, he also guessed that this squinting-eyed Dade Temple teacher should be about to secretly touch the mechanism buried in this ruins. Lead people into the world of dueling monsters and elves where the tomb guards are. Thinking of this, Jiang He immediately took a ham sandwich, ate it leisurely, and waited for the performance of the squinting Dade Temple teacher. Not long after, he vaguely noticed that the fat cat named Pharaoh, under the guidance of the teacher of Dade Temple, he slipped to a place not far away and picked up the ground as if he smelled something. A golden ancient object in the shape of a small disc was quickly dug out of it. Almost at the moment it was dug out, a green light flashed on it. In the blink of an eye, on the entire ground of the ruins where Jiang He and the others were, strange green rays of light began to rush out from under the ground. Got everyone's attention. "What is this?" Tenshingen Asuka said, looking around in surprise. Not far away, Juyo Yujo Sho Maruto and Hayato watched this scene in astonishment, a little flustered, not knowing what happened. Could this be the power of the different world where the dueling monster elf resides? For too, Camula recognized it with some surprise. Glancing at the traps that Fat Cat dug up on the ground, he immediately felt something was wrong. Duel monsters and elves in another world. Before Asuka and the others heard the words, they were puzzled and wanted to ask something. Soon, I saw that a dazzling light suddenly lit up in the midair above. Jiang He raised his hand to cover the gap, and vaguely saw that the sun in the sky above suddenly turned into three under a strange twist and fluctuation. At the same time, lightning and thunder began to appear. Everyone quickly hide in the ruins. Seeing this, the narrow-eyed Deiji teacher immediately shouted at Maruto Sho and the others as if he had been prepared. At the same time, it pointed to an ancient ruined building not far away. Jiang He, let's hurry over too. Seeing the strange three suns in the sky, as well as the movement of lightning and thunder, Asuka quickly reminded Jiang He. It can only accommodate 3 or 4 people at most. Let's go to the arch over there. Jiang He glanced over there and had already run to the squinting-eyed Deiji teacher and Maruto Sho under the ruins of the ancient building, shaking his head and saying. Then he directly took Asuka's hand and chose to hide under the broken arch on the other side. Huh. Asuka couldn't help being stunned for a moment. Looking at the hand held by Jiang He, she completely forgot what to say. Passively following Jiang He, trot to hide under the arch not far away. In the same place, only Kamura was left standing there with a dark face and pulsating veins on his forehead. This black-bellied brat really doesn't care about her life or death. Anyway, she is now considered this guy's maid. However, Kamura didn't dare to stay where she was for long and quickly floated over in a spirit body, following Jiang He's footsteps. As a female vampire, even if she is not afraid of the sun, she still feels very uncomfortable when exposed to the three suns. Soon, as the movement of lightning and thunder accelerated, the light emitted by the three suns in the sky became brighter and brighter. As a result, Jiang He, Tianqingyun Asuka, and the 10 generations of Yu Cheng who were hiding under the ruined building on the other side could not help but subconsciously raise their hands to cover them. Wait until the dazzling white light flashes in a trance. Opening his eyes again, Jiang He soon saw that the surrounding environment had completely changed. Not far ahead, there is a huge pyramid-like brown temple, and the surrounding ground is covered with stone bricks of the same color. It suddenly became the style of ancient Egyptian painting. And the broken arch covered with moss, where he and Tianqingyun Asuka originally hid, has also become a majestic and intact appearance. Could this be the world where dueling monster elves live? Tianqingyun Asuka also woke up, looking at the environment full of ancient Egyptian style in surprise and said, especially in the sky above, those are obviously not the three suns that would exist in the real world. Just now, when the light appeared, Kamura mentioned that dueling monsters and the power of the elf world. Therefore, Asuka is also guessing that this may be the world where dueling monster elves live. To be precise, it should only be part of the existence of dueling monster elves. Jiang He nodded and gave an affirmative answer. Afterwards, he looked around and found that he didn't see Camilla. But soon, Jiang He seemed to remember something, and on the card of darkness he took out from his pocket, I saw the figure of Camilla who had already retreated. It has to be said that the environment of the three suns here is indeed very unfriendly to vampires. Crackle. At this moment, the little guy with a spherical chestnut ball suddenly appeared, materialized, and yelled at Jiang He. Point your short finger in a certain direction to remind someone is coming. Hearing the cry and movement, even Asuka Tenshingen, who didn't understand, roughly understood the meaning, and looked in the direction pointed by the spherical chestnut ball together with Jiang He. Soon I saw a dignified woman with a wheat complexion in a black robe, who had appeared not far away at some point. Throwing a backpack on the ground with a serious face, he said to them, "This is the sacred cemetery of the tomb guards, not the place where you should come. Get out of here quickly before being discovered by the patrolling people." Otherwise, like those few people before, they will be arrested by the elders, bound into mummies, put in the sarcophagus, and planned to be buried alive as punishment for the tomb robbers. Hearing her words, Jiang He immediately noticed several key words. He said that he still intends to let the elder who guards the grave see his real tomb-guarding card group. Since Judai is already in a duel, then of course we have to go and have a look. Jiang He said with a light smile without any worries. Now your companions are basically tied up by 210, waiting to be buried alive. Tianqing and Asuka also showed a dignified expression, as well as a trace of fear that many companions she knew were about to be buried alive. As the last words fell, she soon disappeared in a dark twilight. Once he loses, those people will be completely sealed in the sarcophagus and buried alive. Those companions who came with us have been arrested and tied up now. And a young man they elected represents their last hope, and is currently undergoing a dark duel trial with the elders of our tomb guards, and the situation is already very bad. The dignified woman with wheat complexion in a black robe nodded solemnly without refusing to answer. With a slightly weird expression, he asked this kind-hearted young lady from the tomb guard family. That is to say, if you don't want to be arrested for the dark duel trial, please leave as soon as possible as an intruder. Before she could continue to say something to Jiang He and Tianqing and Asuka, her complexion changed as if she had been summoned. Oops, the elders are calling me to fight. I still want to continue to explain the seriousness of the problem, persuade Jiang He to leave and let them leave here as soon as possible. Jiang He, what should we do now? Seeing the situation, Asuka asked Jiang He with a hint of shock. That's right, trespassers who break into the sacred cemetery of the tomb guards can only escape the punishment of being buried alive unless they survive the dark duel trial with the elders. Waiting for the other party's answer. She has also recognized that the other party is holding the backpack thrown on the ground, which seems to belong to one of teacher Daiji, Yaocheng Judai, and Hayato. Young man, let me tell you the consequences of trespassing on the sacred royal cemetery. My turn. Wait until Jiang He and Tianqing and Asuka, led by the little guy's spherical chestnut ball, came to the vicinity of an altar site. Just in time, in front of the high platforms on both sides, there was a figure of a middle-aged elder in a white robe and a black cloth on his head, fighting a duel with Yucheng Judai in the distance opposite. At this time, there was nothing on the field in front of Yucheng Judai except a cover card. Even the life value has been reduced to a pitiful 2,300 LP. On the opponent's field, there was a bald figure in a black robe holding a long gun, and a figure of a familiar female masked assassin in a black robe. Occupy an absolute advantage. However, the life value is slightly lower than that of the 10 generations of Yucheng, only 1,300 LP. After noticing that Jiang He and Tianqing and Asuka appeared here, the female masked assassin was stunned for a moment with a figure in black robe floating on the field. Obviously did not expect that they would appear here. What's going on? The assassin who guards the tomb. The elder who guarded the tomb in white robe and black veil noticed this change and frowned. Soon he followed the line of sight of the young lady guarding the tomb and immediately found the altar not far away. Here comes Jiang He and Asuka Tenshin. He immediately snorted and said, so there are 2 more trespassers. Following the discovery of the tomb guard elder, a lot of tomb guard spearmen armed with long spears soon rushed out not far from the altar, besieging them, pointing the sharp end of the long spear towards Jiang He and Asuka of the heavenly court. And the little spherical chestnut ball standing on Jiang He's shoulders. Hey, I said be careful with your weapons. If you cut your clothes, it will be inconvenient for me to conduct the dark duel trial for a while. Jiang He flicked the tip of the spear weapon not far away from him, complaining. He said that things that can be solved by playing cards must be solved by using knives and guns. He, Jiang, doesn't intend to escape. Jiang He, senior in the Heavenly Academy. So you are all right. Yucheng Judai also saw Jiang He and the two and immediately said, he, Sho Maruto and Mr. Dade Temple initially hid in a different place from Jiang He when the vision appeared. It was in the ruined building proposed by Mr. Dade Temple. As a result, as soon as he opened his eyes, he happened to appear next to the altar and was immediately arrested by the tomb guards on the spot. Had to engage in a dark duel with each other. Now finally see the whereabouts of Jiang He. Compared with this matter, Judai, you should first think about how to win. Jiang He waved his hand and reminded that passionate idiot Yaocheng Jude. That's right, although you seem to be companions. It's because the 2 intruders over there came later, and they still have the key to the 7-star gate. The tomb guard elder who was standing on the side of the high platform soon looked at the distance opposite him again. Yucheng Judai, who was the opponent in the duel, said, After punishing you, it will soon be the turn of the new boy over there to carry out this terrifying trial. The key to the Gate of 7 Stars. Jiang He couldn't help raising his eyebrows when he heard this. The elder guarding the tomb actually knew the key to the Gate of 7 Stars. He didn't remember that there was such a thing in the original trajectory. Moreover, on the other party, his dragon heart imprints the power of the red dragon's mind, and he also vaguely sensed the existence of a 7-star dark prop that is slightly similar to Camula's dark lasso. It seemed that things had indeed undergone some subtle changes because of his existence. The duel continues. Before Jiang He could continue to think about it, at the altar not far away, the tomb guard elder in white robe and black hood had already drawn cards from the top of his own ancient dueling board deck. Then he raised the duel disc on his wrist and directly placed the drawn card in the magic area of the field. Because before this, someone has already used the Yingxing deck and I have seen its power. Nanny. You actually know Valley of the King's Resting Palace, the magic effect of this venue. The elder who guarded the tomb was a little surprised and asked in surprise, revealing the canyon floor that is not low below. The narrow-eyed Dato Kyuji-sensei and Marutu Sho, who were being bandaged with only their heads exposed, screamed in panic. Wow, it's about to be buried. Inside, the two unlucky ones and a squinty eye who was caught voluntarily together with a brown fat cat are being bandaged into a long strip with only the head exposed. I also thought of a good solution because of this, uncle, you seem to be one step too late. Completely replaces the original altar. Activate the field magic Valley of the King's Resting Palace. He would like to call these two items the 8th Millennium Artifact, 1,000-year hostages, Yao Cheng Judai said with a smile. Jiang He and Tianqing Asuka saw that after the altar disappeared, there were still 3 sarcophagi on the ground of the canyon not far below. And the high platforms on both sides, where Yao Cheng Shidai and the elder who guarded the tomb stood, were also turned into solitary stone pillars. Are you going to use the effect of the Valley of the King's Resting Palace to seal off my cemetery? After seeing the surrounding terrain, Yu Cheng Judai suddenly looked at the head of the tomb with a serious expression. Boom. Seeing the tragic situation of Maruto Sho and Hayato Wangzhou, Jiang He deeply understood the meaning of the phrase, there are actually 8,000-year-old 7 artifacts. Following the field magic Valley of the King's Resting Palace, launched by the elder guarding the tomb, a brown gorge suddenly rose up around the original altar amidst a rumbling violent tremor telephone. This violent vibration suddenly caused the 3 sarcophagi on the ground of the canyon below stubborn here. Seeing that the hot-blooded idiot Yao Cheng Shidai was still smiling and talking, the elder guarding the tomb immediately snorted, took out a card in his hand and signaled. I will use the Fanbing who guards the grave on the field as a sacrifice and summon myself. Summon yourself. Yao Cheng Judai was stunned when he heard the words, including Asuka of the Tenshingin next to Jiang He and Sho Mardo, who was being tied up in the sarcophagus below, were also taken aback. They have never seen such an operation. Om. A burst of light appeared on the bald and belly figure in black robe and disappeared as a sacrifice. Soon, a similar gleam of light shone on the tomb guard elder himself, transferring his figure to the field in front of him in the golden gleam. Elder who guards the grave star, 5 attribute, dark 1900, defense power 1200, good guy, it's a famous scene. Jiang He couldn't help but twitch his mouth and couldn't help complaining, I summon myself. JPG, go to the fight yourself. Jiang He suddenly found out that the elder who guarded the tomb, compared to the previous members of Camilla, seemed to have an extra means of venting when he was depressed. You can end the battle in person and attack him to vent your emotions. Of course, if this is on the court, you can feel the power of the underworld for yourself. It seems that the degree of depression will be higher. Next, activate my own special effects. Seeing the shocked look of the 10 generations in Yao Cheng, the elder guarding the tomb smiled triumphantly and raised his hand as a gesture. When I am summoned by a successful sacrifice, I can resurrect a monster with Gravekeeper in its name in my graveyard. And as long as I exist on the field, I will not be affected by the effect of the field magic Valley of the King's Resting Palace, and the effect of blocking the graveyard. I chose to resurrect, of course, the tomb-guarding conjurer who was destroyed by your flame-winged man before and sent to the cemetery. Snort. Following a burst of light, it lit up on the field next to the elder guarding the tomb, and suddenly a black-clothed, black-skinned monster figure with a magic wand emerged, humming and laughing. The cursed Bibgi magician who guards the grave star, 3 attribute, dark attack power, 800. Defense power, 800. You should have seen the effect of this card once. The elder guarding the tomb immediately waved his finger and signaled to Yao Cheng Shidai to give an order. When Gravekeeper Conjurer is successfully summoned, reversed summoned, special summoned, it can inflict 500 points of damage to the opponent. Come on, the magician who guards the tomb, forbidden spells. The black-clothed, black-skinned figure holding a curved magic wand suddenly began to hold the magic wand in both hands with a cruel smile on his face, closing his eyes and reciting the incantation. A burst of orange-yellow energy instantly lit up on him. The effect was on Yu Cheng Judai, who was far away from him. Under the power of the orange taboo spell, Yu Cheng Judai immediately hugged his head and cried out in pain. And he originally had 2,300 LP health left, but it was also reduced by 500 LP, becoming 1,800 LP. Wow, the sarcophagus is closed again. There is less than half of the face left. Sho Maruto and the teacher of Dade Temple with squinting eyes shouted in the sarcophagus on the floor of the canyon below. It seems that if Yao Cheng Judai's life value is only a little left, the sarcophagus will almost be completely closed. Seeing this, Asuka couldn't help frowning and said, "Next, it's over." The elder guarding the tomb snorted, raised his hand, and continued to give orders. Gravekeeper Conjurer makes a direct attack. At the same time, because of the field magic valley of the king's resting palace, the attack power and defense power of all grave guard monsters on the field will increase by 500 points. As his words fell, the attack power of the tomb guard magician also rose to 1,300 points. Immediately, from the magic wand in his hand, he released a streak of orange-yellow energy and shot it towards Yu Cheng Judai. Yu Cheng Judai suddenly felt a pain in his chest after being hit, and half-kneeled on the ground clutching his hands. And his 1,800 LP life value was also cut down again, becoming a mere 50 DLP. Brother. Below, Sho Maruto and Hayato suddenly spoke out in worry. At the same time, the sarcophagus in front of them was closed again, leaving only half a palm away. There should be a stronger power sleeping on your body. 10 generations of students, please don't let me down. The teacher of Dade Temple with squinting eyes also secretly said in his heart. Raising the snake-shaped dagger in his hand, he was about to strike down, giving that hot-blooded idiot Yao Cheng Judai a final blow. Jiang He almost laughed unkindly at the funny sound of the squinting Dade Temple teacher. Open the ambush card and trap absorb shield. This blow will kill you. Assassin of the Tomb Keeper, make a direct attack, shadow backstab. When it reappears, it has already reached the rear of Yao Cheng Judai. The elder who guarded the tomb did not pause at all, and once again raised his finger to the 10th generation of Yao Cheng in the distance opposite him and signaled with an order. With a rare serious expression, he continued to squint his eyes. But at this time, the situation of the hot-blooded idiot Yu Cheng Judai is indeed not very good. At this moment, Yu Cheng Judai quickly gestured to the only ambush card on the field in front of him. No way. Then he suddenly found out in bewilderment that because the sarcophagus was closed again, he could no longer see the duel field from his position. Holding a curved snake-shaped short sword, a dodge jumped up, turning into a shadow in midair and disappearing. Absorbed all the attacking power of the assassin of the Tomb Keeper Snake Blade and returned without success. Following the bright light above, a green energy shield suddenly appeared around Yao Cheng Judai. Soon, a trap was set off, revealing a pattern of a monster attacking the warrior protected by the green shield, although he doesn't think the 10 generations will lose. Because of the field magic effect of Valley of the King's Rest, the original 1,500 attack power of the Black Robe and the figure of the female masked assassin also rose to 2,000 points. What happened? Seeing that the attack of assassin who guards the grave was directly resisted by the trap launched by Yu Cheng Judai, he returned without success. The elder guarding the tomb was suddenly surprised. The effect of the trap-absorbing shield, when the opponent's monster attacks, makes that attack invalid and restores the HP of the monster's attack power value. Following Yujo Judai's laughing voice, his HP, which originally only had 500 LP left, suddenly increased by 2,000 and became 2,500 LP. HMPH, I'm just playing smart. Even if I recover 2,000 LP of health, it's just a little delay. I haven't attacked myself yet. The elder who guarded the tomb spoke angrily, and a dark red energy light group quickly lit up from his hand. And his original attack power of 1,900 points also rose to 2,400 points because of the existence of Valley of the King's Resting Palace. Then he instantly released the dark red energy bomb in his hand and directly attacked Yu Cheng Judai. Following the bombardment of the dark red energy bombs on Yu Cheng Judai, he suddenly screamed out in pain, and there were many broken holes in the clothes on his body. Almost lay on the ground of the stone pillar and couldn't get up. And his original HP, restored to 2,500 LP, was once again directly reduced to the pitiful 100 LP. did it appear. At that moment, Jiang He vaguely felt that there seemed to be a force emerging from that hot-blooded idiot Yao Cheng Judai to protect this guy a little bit. Let Yu Cheng Judai not be under this blow and pass out directly. If he didn't guess wrong, that should be the power of the previous life hidden in that hot-blooded idiot of the 10th generation. It's just that the squinting-eyed Dade temple teacher must not be able to see it. At this time, the 3 sarcophagi below are almost completely closed. Only a tiny gap remains. Oh, can you still stand up? Then, for the sake of caution, let me add the last insurance for this victory in the stage after the attack. Seeing Yu Cheng Judai baring his teeth and yelling in pain, he immediately stood up again. The elder guarding the tomb couldn't help being a little surprised, and then he immediately took out the last card in his hand and activated it. Activate the magic card from the hand, the sacrifice of the royal family. The effect of this card can only be activated when there is Valley of the King's Resting Palace on your field, and all monsters in the hands of both parties will be discarded to the graveyard. Nanny, Yu Cheng Shidai was startled when he heard the words. There were 4 cards in his hand, but under the effect of this magic card, all of them disappeared with a glimmer of light, sent to the graveyard on the duel plate. At the end of the round, all the monsters in Yu Cheng Judai's hand were sent to the graveyard. Tianqingyu and Asuka also looked at it and said in surprise. First send all the monsters in Yu Cheng Judai's hand to the cemetery, and then add field magic, the Valley of the King's Resting Palace to seal the cemetery effect. It eliminates the possibility of the former taking the cards in the cemetery back to the hand and continuing to use them, or resurrecting and special summoning them back to the field. This step of safety measures taken by the Tomb Guard Elder can be said to have almost completely cut off the possibility of Yu Cheng Judai summoning a powerful monster in the next round to make a comeback. Although it is far inferior to Jiang He's Yingxing deck before, it is so underworld that even the drawing of cards is blocked. But the situation we are facing now is obviously not very friendly to the 10 generations of Yu Cheng. HMPH, the round is over, so everything is ready. I won't give you the slightest chance. Hearing what the elder guarding the tomb said with a smile, the expression on Jiang He's face couldn't help being weird. He thinks, should he redefine what is meant by will not give you the slightest chance? Because, if he read correctly just now, he seemed to vaguely see that the hot-blooded idiot Yao Cheng Judai was thrown into the 4 cards in the cemetery by the effect of the opponent's magic card Wang Family's Sacrifice. It seems that there is an E-Hero Necromancer that can activate the effect only after being sent to the graveyard. When the hero monster is summoned by the sacrifice next time, the sacrifice cannot be used E-Hero Necromancer. Jiang He said, isn't this a great help to the 10 generations, especially for a dog who sucks? After taking a look at the life value of the elder guarding the grave 1,300 LP, and the 3 monsters on the opponent's field including the opponent himself. The Gravekeeper Conjurer, with the lowest attack power, still has only 1,300 points of attack power even under the effect of the field magic Valley of the King's Resting Valley. Jiang He can only say that this duel is almost over. My turn, draw a card. As Jiang He expected, ask for flowers. After Yu Cheng Judai concentrated and determinedly drew cards from his own dueling deck, a confident smile of victory appeared on his face soon. Smile from the god-pumping dog. Although, Uncle, your deck is a little dark, but compared to the trial I accepted with Jiang He before, it is still within the acceptable range. I summon E-Hero Golden Blade Man with the expression of attack. Following the cards drawn by Yu Cheng Judai directly on the duel board, a faint light suddenly lit up on the field in front of him. It turned into a figure of a heroic monster covered in golden metal, with sharp golden blades on both wrists emerging. Then it slowly landed on the field in front of Yu Cheng Judai. E-Hero Golden Blade Man Star 7-0. Attribute, Ground, Attack Power 2600, Defense Power 1800. How is it possible? Why can a high-level monster with an attack power of 2600 be summoned without a sacrifice? The elder guarding the tomb suddenly frowned and said in surprise, I would also like to thank you, Uncle, for the effect of E-Hero Necromancer that you helped me throw into the graveyard just now. Yao Cheng Judai said with a smile while clenching his fist. As long as this card exists in the cemetery, you can have a chance. When summoning a high-level E-Hero monster, you don't need to use sacrifices. The effect activated in reverse from the cemetery is not within the limit of the Valley of the King's Resting Valley, its effect of sealing the cemetery. This is a situation demonstrated by a guy before. Obviously, this is the method that Jiang He demonstrated to avoid the negative effects of Valley of King's Resting when he used the Yingxing deck before. It's just that what he used at the time was not a card that was not enough for the underworld like E-Hero Necromancer. I won this victory. E-Hero Golden Blade Man attacks Gravekeeper Conjurer. Golden Blade Strike. Following Yu Cheng Judai's signal, the Golden Blade Man on the field in front of him immediately raised his golden blade and rushed up, leaping across the figure of the Conjurer guarding the tomb. Directly explode the opponent's attack into a burst of fire and smoke, and disappear. And the aftermath of the flames and smoke from the explosion quickly spread to the elders guarding the tomb who were the opponents in the duel. Make a cry of pain. And his HP, which was originally only 1,300 LP, was cleared to 0 in just one drop. Impossible, I will lose. The elder guarding the tomb held his heart in front of him in disbelief from the shock wave of the explosion. And as he was defeated, the brown valley of the royal family's resting place fell down again in a flash and disappeared without a trace. Restored to the previous appearance of the earthy yellow altar. Make them reappear on the altar high platform. Elder, are you all right? The masked assassin lady in black robes also asked hastily from the side. Then she secretly glanced at Jiang He and Tianqingyun Asuka and suggested to the grave guard elder, Elder, do you want to cancel the next trial? Obviously, this kind-hearted young lady planned to take the opportunity to save the person who broke in by mistake. It seems that Jiang He is a little bit embarrassed, 133. It has to be said that although she is the assassin who guards the tomb, this young lady has a rather friendly heart. It's just a little bit of a slight injury, nothing serious. But the tomb guard elder quickly waved his hand and stood up again. Then he took out a pendant from in front of himself, looked at Yu Cheng Judai and said, It was a beautiful duel. You passed this test that determines whether you will be buried alive. It was also the only second person to pass for such a long time. Then, according to the regulations of the tomb guards, this half pendant will be your reward for passing the trial. As the tomb guard elder said, he threw the half of the pendant to Yao Cheng Shidai on the high platform opposite him. That pendant is. Seeing the appearance of that half of the incomplete pendant, Asuka of Tianqingyun couldn't help but change her expression, as if she remembered something and said in amazement, If there are no accidents, the other half that hangs with your brother should be exactly a pair. Jiang He took a look at the incomplete golden pendant that Yao Cheng Judai had just caught and immediately recognized it. That Yu Cheng Judai and my brother are a couple or something. You guys seem to be making a weird joke again. Hearing the words, Asuka of the Heavenly Academy couldn't help but think about the scene and couldn't help but shuddered, complaining. Jiang He said. She could no longer look directly at the pendant and her brother. Jiang He wanted to say, but he didn't mean that at all. It's just that Asuka's thinking is wrong. So the person who passed the test last time is the elder brother of the girl next to you. But the elder guarding the tomb over there looked at them in surprise after hearing the movement here. Before this, there was indeed a person who called himself Darkness who broke into this sacred place and challenged me to a trial. And I successfully passed the trial, and got half a dark item pendant from the tomb guards in my hand as a reward. And also invited me to agree to temporarily join an organization called the 7 Stars Dark Duelists for a period of time in name. Gave me a dark power item called Dark Magic Power and took something called the 7-Star Gate Key for them. It really is so. Jiang He's face suddenly showed a trace of such an expression. At the very beginning, he sensed the aura of dark power props similar to Camula's Dark Lasso. This has already been guessed. Then he said to the elder who guarded the tomb, Then, Uncle Tomb Guard, it seems that you are now one of the 7-Star Dark Duelists. Tianqingyun Asuka, Yujo Judai, and Maruto Sho, who was just released from the sarcophagus because of Yujo Judai's victory, all showed surprise expressions when they heard the words look at the tomb guard elder in white robe and black hood. They also suddenly remembered, speaking of it this way, the elder guarding the tomb seemed to have indeed mentioned the key to the 7 Stars Gate just now. That's right, although I didn't pay too much attention to this so-called 7-Star Gate key. But after all, I was defeated in the previous trial and agreed to the other party. And it just so happens that you are also intruders, so you are the ones who need to undergo trials. The elder guarding the tomb nodded, confirmed Jiang He's words, then looked at him and asked, So boy, who will come first to continue the trial of the dark duel with me, you or the girl over there? Jiang He, you have conducted 2 consecutive dark duels. This kind of real duel is too heavy on the body. This time I really want to do it. Asuka heard the words and just wanted to propose to Jiang He, let her come to fight, but soon Jiang He waved his hand, indicating that she would be at ease, and interrupted. Jiang He. Asuka Tenshinggin was still a little worried about his health and wanted to persuade him again. Anyway, there is free labor, and he doesn't need to carry it himself. A final reminder, be careful. Of course, the duel disc was from the very beginning. He knew there would be a duel, so he asked his vampire maid, Kamura, to bring it in his backpack. Inexplicably, he felt a sense of relief and nodded to him. The narrow-eyed Dade Temple teacher also held Fat Mao, secretly thinking in his heart. Just got it, Jiang He. Yujo Judai was at the altar with Maruto Sho and Hayato, who had just escaped from death and acted as cheerleaders for him. And it happens to be my new deck, and I can't wait to send laughter and warmth to this uncle guarding the grave. After all, he was the one who defeated his favorite student, Yaocheng Shidai, so he wasn't too worried about the possibility of Jiang He losing. This duel may also reveal some of the mysterious power hidden in Jiang He. But after seeing the usual light smile on Jiang He's face, she immediately didn't say anything more. On the contrary, I am more curious about what new underworld deck Jiang He will use. Including Asuka and the others from Tianqingyuan, they couldn't help guessing in their hearts when they saw that Jiang He and the elder who guarded the tomb had already launched a duel board in an instant to prepare for a duel. There's no reason for you, Asuka, to stand in front of such a dark duel. And soon, Jiang He 3-8 also walked to the high altar where the 10 generations of Yaocheng had a duel with the tomb guard elder just now. With a faint smile, Jiang He took out a deck and put it in the duel plate on his left wrist, and said to the elder guarding the tomb on the high platform in the distance, Jiang He is naturally not afraid of trouble at all. Young man, let me see your confidence, how much strength you have. The elder guarding the tomb also put the card group back on the duel plate and said to Jiang He, duel. As Jiang He and the tomb guard elders speak at the same time, 5 starting cards are drawn from the top of the deck. Immediately, 4,000 HP appeared beside the two sides. Continue to let me attack first, draw cards. The elder guarding the tomb directly drew 1 card from the top of the deck, as if planning to avenge the shame of his failure just now. After taking a look, he immediately added the cards in his hand, and then took out one of them and slapped it on the duel board, summon Grave Guard Pikeman with an attack signal. Drink. Following a burst of light, a figure of a soldier in a black robe and holding a spear in both hands emerged. Shouting, he appeared on the field in front of the tomb guard elder. Pikeman guarding the grave star, 4, attribute dark, attack power 1500, defense power 1000. Continue to activate the field magic card from the hand Valley of the King's Resting Palace. The elder guarding the tomb immediately took out a familiar card again and showed it. Boom. Almost instantly, the surrounding altar site changed again and a brown canyon opened up. And the altar high platform where Jiang He and the tomb guard elder were originally standing turned into 2 suspended stone pillars. Playing cards is just playing cards, you have to deal with such a painful environment. Jiang He twitched the corner of his mouth and couldn't help complaining. Fortunately, the height of this stone pillar is not exaggerated. Still within the acceptable range of his fear of heights, Jiang He immediately decided to bring more laughter and warmth to the grave guard elder in return. You should already know the effect of Valley of Royal Sleep, young man. The elder guarding the tomb clenched his fists and said with a smile. As long as this field exists, neither side can activate cards that use effects on the graveyard, and the attack power and defense power of all monsters with Grave Guard in their names on the field will increase by 500 points. In this way, the Grave Guard Spearman's attack power will be 2,000 points. On the side of the altar, Yaocheng Judai, who was watching the battle, saw the figure of the spearman guarding the tomb, and said with a serious expression that his attack power had risen to 2,000. The duel between the Grave Guard uncle and Jiang He this time seems to be stronger than when he dueled with him just now. In the first round, I used the field magic Valley of the King's Resting Palace to seal the cemetery and strengthen the monsters on my field at the same time. Tianqingyun Asuka also said with some surprise. When she and Jiang He rushed over just now, although the duel between Yaocheng Shidai and the tomb guard elder had come to an end, they only saw a brief part of the duel. But from what he saw, Asuka could roughly guess that the opponent's strength this time and the first round of offensive, it seems to be significantly stronger than before. The most special dark magic power of the 7-star dark item can give stronger dual power to a certain extent according to the determination of the user. Jiang He, I don't know how you will deal with it. And the narrow-eyed Dade Temple teacher obviously also noticed this, and secretly said in his heart. Just now he failed in the duel with his 10th generation classmate, Huzhai, the elder guarding the tomb, wants to win this time even more. Therefore, the opponent was also given a certain degree of power assistance from dark props. However, this range will not be too large. Is it the dark prop the influence of the dark magic power? Jiang He murmured in his heart. Naturally, he had already vaguely noticed that the more obvious fluctuations of dark power seemed to emerge from the elder who guarded the tomb in the distance. Then I'll ambush another card, the round is over. It's your turn, Hui. Following the boom sound of the elder guarding the tomb, he placed an ambush card on the field in front of him and immediately said to Jiang He, "Then, I'll go ahead without hesitation, it's my turn, draw cards." Hearing this, Jiang He also drew cards from his dueling deck. After looking at the card that was drawn, Asuka and the others who were watching the battle from a distance suddenly became happy and friendly when they saw the smile on his face. This made them who are familiar with Jiang He instantly have the same idea. The card of hell has arrived. Afterwards, Jiang He added the drawn card into his hand, then took out another card and put it on his duel board. I use the defensive position on the inside set and summon a monster, then ambush 3 cards and the round is over. As Jiang He's voice fell, the sound of dong-dong sounded one after another. 1 horizontal, 3 vertical, 4 huge shadows on the back of the card appeared on the field in front of him in an instant. Opening 4 blocks, please enlighten me. JPG is the monster on the inside defensive display. It seems to be a flip effect monster similar to the grave guard in my deck. The elder guarding the tomb suddenly felt that he had seen through Jiang He's situation. But even so, it's impossible to block me in this trial with a small fish monster. My turn, draw a card. After quickly drawing a card from the top of the deck, he immediately raised his hand and showed it. Take the grave guard pikeman on my field as a sacrifice and summon myself. 3. Ohm. As a glimmer of light appeared on the black-clothed figure of the pikeman guarding the tomb, it quickly disappeared as a sacrifice. At the same time, the same golden gleam immediately lit up on the body of the tomb guard elder himself, and it shifted to the field in front of him in a blink of an eye. Replaced the original position of the pikeman guarding the tomb. Elder who guards the grave star, 5 attribute, Dark Roman 9 1900 defense power 1200, then activate my own special effect. When the sacrifice is successfully summoned, a gravekeeper monster in the graveyard will be resurrected. Resurrect pikeman guarding the grave. As the tomb guard elder raised the dueling plate to signal, a burst of golden light flew out of the graveyard on his dueling plate, and the figure of the pike soldier in black robe emerged again. Reappear on the field next to him. Because of the buff effect of the field magic valley of the king's resting home, the elder guarding the tomb immediately had a monster with 2400 attack power and a monster with 200 attack power on the field. Have you started going off in person again? Jiang He raised his eyebrows, but he was not worried about the opponent's attack at all. He said that the monster he built on the field was enough to give the uncle who guarded the grave a surprise. Let me see what kind of miscellaneous fish the flip effect monster you summoned will be. Seeing that Jiang He summoned 2 monsters with high attack power at once, he showed an indifferent expression. The elder guarding the tomb frowned immediately, then waved his hand directly. Pikeman guarding the grave attacked the miscellaneous fish monster that was summoned, shoot straight with the spear. Drink. The pike soldier in black robe suddenly let out a low cry, raised his pike and charged directly at the field in front of Jiang He, the huge monster card shadow that was summoned horizontally. Tianxing Yun Asuka, teacher of Deji Temple, and the 10 generations of Yu Cheng all stared curiously at the monster that Geifeng summoned, guessing what it might be. In the next second following the spear attack of the tomb-guarding spearman, the shadow of the huge monster card lying horizontally turned upside down. Mystery solved. Snort. I saw a figure of a bald and pot-bellied soldier wearing a black robe and also holding a spear Wu-Q emerged. Fan soldiers guarding the tomb star, 4 attribute dark, attack power 1000 defense power 1900 surprised or not. Nanny, how is that possible? This is. Fanbing guarding the grave. The elder guarding the tomb suddenly stared at the bald figure in black robe with wide eyes in shock, and exclaimed in disbelief. Especially seeing Fan Bing guarding the tomb, under the effect of the field magic valley of the king's resting palace, activated by him, also increased the offensive and defensive value by 500 points, which increased to 2400 defensive power at once. And think of the flip effect of Fanbing who guards the tomb. His face is green. Even Asuka, Dade Temple, and Yucheng Shidai were stunned for a moment. Unexpectedly, the monster Jiang He Geifeng summoned was also from the Tomb Guard family. And it happens to be the Grave Guard's Fanbing that the Tomb Guard elder casually gave an example just now. The flip effect of Grave Guard's Fanbing, when this card is flipped over, it can kill the 10 song monsters on the opponent's field return to hand knight. With a faint smile on his face, Jiang He raised his finger and pointed to the elder guarding the grave on the monster field in the opposite distance. The one I chose to return to my hand is of course the grave guard uncle who ended up in person yourself. When you're old, don't leave the game yourself, go back to the stone pillar over there first and continue to play cards slowly. As Jiang He's voice fell on the opposite side, the tomb guard elder who was originally on the field suddenly lit up with a golden gleam, directly and forcibly shifted the opponent to the stone pillar behind the opposite side. And the tomb guard elder had only 3 cards left in his hand, and immediately with the same golden gleam there was one more card. The elder guarding the tomb looked at himself who reappeared on the card with a dark face and a grieved expression on his face. Ding, the mood value of the elder guarding the tomb is plus 500. Listening to the pleasant system notification tone, Jiang He indicated with a satisfied look on his face. At the same time, the spearmen guarding the tomb continued to attack the battlefield, the soldiers guarding the tomb. Let me see the battle between the monster with 2,000 attack power and the monster with 2,400 defense power that you call the miscellaneous fish, Uncle Graveguard. As soon as Jiang He's words came out, the dozens of bald-headed and pot-bellied tomb guards on duty at the side of the altar looked at their elders, and suddenly they looked a little bit bad. If they remember correctly, the elder did indeed say that the monster Guy Fang summoned was a miscellaneous fish. Doesn't that mean they are? The face of the elder guarding the tomb suddenly turned darker. Snort, but before he could say anything painfully. On the ground in front of Jiang He, the figure of the tomb guard fan squatting in a defensive posture raised his spear in his hand with a groaning angrily. He easily scratched the black-clothed long spearmen who were attacking from the opposite side, and repelled them. The opponent fell back to the field in front of the elder guarding the tomb in a state of embarrassment. The elder guarding the tomb also staggered and almost fell. The original 4,000 LP life value of the elder guarding the tomb has also been reduced by 400 LP, and it has become 3,600 LP. Jiang He is using the deck of the tomb guards. Tianqing and Asuka looked at Jiang He's showy operation with a strange expression and couldn't help but say, "The most outrageous thing is that this guy actually provoked the little emotions of the soldiers of the tomb guards, by the way." Hearing this, he started to think about it. Could it be Fan Bing guarding the tomb again? The elder guarding the tomb suddenly froze when he saw this. Looking at the figure of a black-robed soldier with a bald head and a big belly on the field in front of Jiang He wondered which B*** D from the tomb guard family had rebelled. You put it here, put it here. By Li Zhao, could it be that there is some hidden situation here? At this time, the soldiers guarding the tomb all acted as if they hadn't seen it, and there was no one to help the elder guarding the tomb who almost fell. For a moment he didn't know whether he would end up in the next round. Then it's my turn, draw a card. Using the defensive position on the inside, set up and summon a monster again, the round is over. However, other people including the elder guarding the tomb and the teacher of Dade Temple with squinting eyes. Young man, why do you have the card of our tomb guard clan in your hand? The tomb guard elder quickly regained his footing on the stone pillar and asked Jiang He with a serious frown, "If you want to talk about why I have it, I'm also looking for this reason." Jiang He looked like he had thought for a while and said a classic nonsense literature. "Uncle guarding the tomb over there, your turn should be over." But without waiting for the other party to think about it, Jiang He interrupted directly. But the aura on the other party's body does not seem to be his clansman. After the other party confirmed with a sullen face, he also drew the card unceremoniously. The cards of their tomb guards should hardly exist in the real world. One of the cores I need, is it finally here? After looking at it, Jiang He hooked the corner of his mouth and directly put the drawn card on his dueling board. With the sound of boom, there was another huge shadow of a horizontal card, and the back appeared on the field in front of him. Also see the shadow of the card on the back of the monster that Jiang He summoned again. Yaocheng Judai, Maruto Shou and the others, as well as Tianqing Asuka, all had similar speculations as the tomb guard elder. Will the monster summoned by the defense mode on the inside be also Fanbing who guards the grave? According to their familiarity with Jiang He, it seems that it is not impossible at all. Putting it here to torture the uncle guarding the tomb, repeating the situation of going off in person, and then being forcibly sent back to the backcourt by Jiang He. My turn, draw a card. After frowning and struggling for a while, the elder who was the opponent of the duel also immediately chose to draw cards from the top of his own deck first and see the situation before talking. But when he saw the card he had drawn, a smile of winning was reappeared on his face. Young man, even if the monster you set up this time is still the grave guard Fanbing, it doesn't matter. Let me let you understand that you can't beat me in terms of understanding of our tomb guard deck. This is the truth. Immediately, the elder who guarded the tomb said and showed the card he had just drawn. I summon with an attack, Assassin of the Tomb Guard. Ho, following a flash of light, a masked female assassin in a black robe and a hood that looked familiar suddenly emerged with a low cry, appeared on the field next to the Tomb Guard Lancer. Assassin of the Tomb Guard Star, 4 Attribute, Dark Eye 1500. Defense Power 1500. Come on, Assassin who guards the grave, attack Fan who guards the grave. After summoning the Tomb Guard Assassin Lady, the Tomb Guard Elder immediately waved his hand and gave an order. How could it be? Tianqing Yuan Asuka was a little surprised when she saw this. The attack power of Assassin who guards the grave is 1500 points. Even with the buff effect of the Field Magic Valley of the Royal Resting, the attack power is increased to 2000 points. But facing Jiang He, who can also use the magic buff effect of the opponent's field to increase the defense power to 2400 Graveguard Fanbing, he should still only be injured by himself. The special effect of Assassin who guards the grave, as long as there is Royal Resting Valley on the field when she attacks, the offensive and defensive forms of the monsters on the opponent's face can be changed. The teacher of Dade Temple immediately explained. The ace monster of the previous 10 generations of students, the Flame-Winged Man, was easily destroyed by this Grave Guard Assassin. Not far away, the 10th generation of Yao Cheng stared at the duel venue Jiang He with a solemn expression and said, "The uncle guarding the tomb now probably wants to change Jiang He's Fanbing who guards the grave into an attacking display to destroy it. HMPH, that's right, that's it." The elder guarding the tomb smiled and said to Jiang He, "Activate the special effect of Assassin of the Grave Guard. Change the Fan Soldier of the Grave Guard on your field into an attack display, and then attack and destroy him." With the falling sound, the assassin who guarded the tomb jumped into the air, and a burst of dark purple energy suddenly lit up on his body. The dark purple energy instantly acted on the ground in front of Jiang He, the Fan Soldier guarding the tomb. The bald and pot-bellied figure in the black robe seemed to be controlled by the dark purple energy and was forced to stand up from the half-squatting defensive state. The one holding the long gun becomes an attack display. The attack power of Fanbing who guards the grave is only 1000 points. Even if you add the effect of the Field Magic Valley of the King's Resting Palace that you rubbed against me for nothing, the attack power is only 1500 points. It is enough to be easily destroyed by the Assassin of the Tomb Guard with an attack power of 2000. Come on, Shadow Backstab. The elder who guarded the tomb showed a successful smile on his face and said with his fists clenched, "He has made complete considerations." Even if the other set monster on Jiang He's field is also a soldier of the Grave Guard, he can return a monster on his field to his hand in the next round. After that, he can still rely on the effect of the assassin who guards the tomb to easily deal with it. In particular, the ambush card on his field can still revive monsters in the cemetery and is not subject to the trap of the cemetery blocking effect of Valley of the Royal Rest. Enough for every situation. Uncle Grave Guard over there, you seem to take the 3 ambush cards in my backcourt as a display. Just when the assassin guarding the tomb appeared behind the soldiers guarding the tomb, the curved snake blade in his hand was about to backstab. Jiang He said without any panic, and raised his hand to signal one of the 3 ambush cards on the field in front of him. Open the ambush card and continue to trap the Temple of the Valley of the Royal Rest. A trap card with the pattern of an ancient sacrificial temple was immediately opened. The temple in the Valley of the King's Resting Palace. The elder guarding the tomb suddenly exclaimed in surprise. Look at the trap with the ancient sacrificial temple pattern opened on the field in front of Jiang He, like seeing it for the first time. Because of this trap card, in the authentic tomb guarding card group of the elder of the tomb guarding clan, it seems that there is really number. This caused the elder guarding the tomb to fall into silence for a while. Some doubts arise. He and the boy named Jiang He opposite, who is the real Tomb Guard family. Why would this boy have the trap card of the Tomb Guard clan that he didn't even have? The effect of this card can only take effect when there is a Gravekeeper monster on the field and Valley of the King's Resting Palace exists, and the attack power and defense power of the opponent's monsters on the field will decrease by 500 points. Jiang He directly gave the elder who guarded the tomb on the opposite side a heart-rending knife. Although I don't have the Field Magic Valley of the King's Resting Palace, fortunately, the uncle who guards the tomb over there, you have it. Even a monster with a grave guard in its name fully meets these conditions. The elder who guards the tomb and the assassin who guards the tomb. Even the Tianqing Yuan Asuka, the teacher of Deji Temple, and the 10 generations in Yaocheng couldn't help but fell into silence when they heard Jiang He's words. With a drop of cold sweat left on their faces, they looked at Jiang He. At this moment, they only wanted to complain to Jiang He, "Please be human." As Jiang He's voice fell. On the ground in front of him, a burst of dark red energy suddenly lit up on the perpetual trap, the Temple of the Valley of the King's Resting Valley, that had just been activated. Immediately, behind the tomb guard Bing, who had appeared on the field in front of him. The tomb guard assassin, who was raising the snake blade dagger in his hand and stabbing it down, was also immediately suppressed by this energy, and his attack power dropped by 500 points to 1500 points. As if his actions had slowed down quite a bit, the fan soldier guarding the tomb, who was summoned by Jiang He, reacted in a blink of an eye, turned around and raised the spear in his hand, blocked the snake blade short sword and knocked her back directly. As a result, because the assassin who guarded the tomb appeared in the back and stabbed him in the back, at this moment, he was repelled and happened to bump into Jiang He not far away, and he quickly raised his hand to grab him down. "Are you okay?" Jiang He greeted with a little embarrassment. After all, the tomb guard assassin tried to save him and Asuka several times before, but now she was beaten back by the tomb guard soldiers he summoned. It just happened to bump into him, which was somewhat embarrassing. The assassin guarding the tomb nodded slightly, then turned into a shadow and disappeared, and immediately returned to the opposite field. And Tianqingyu and Asuka finally fully recognized the assassin who guarded the tomb. It seems to be the person who advised her and Jiang He to leave at the beginning. This boy really makes people hate him. The elder guarding the tomb looked at Jiang He with a face as black as coal. At this time, the assassin who guards the grave is repelled by the Fanbing who guards the grave on Jiang He's field and returns to the field in front of him. He originally reduced some 3,600 LP health, but also dropped by 100 LP again, becoming 3,500 LP. However, compared to the mere 100 LP reduction in HP, the effect of Jiang He's permanent trap, the Temple of the Valley of the King's Resting Valley, made him even more ashamed. Use his field magic and monsters as the conditions for activation to reduce the attack power of his monsters. Then he has to rub his field magic Valley of the King's Resting Palace for nothing, which has a buff effect on the Gravekeeper monster. Thinking of Jiang He's saucy manipulation, the fist of the elder guarding the tomb instantly hardened. He wanted to end the fight himself, to attack the desire of this young man who seemed harmless to humans and animals, but actually made his blood pressure soar to an unreasonable level. It is also getting stronger. Ding, the mood value of the tomb guard elder plus 800. But it's a pity that he has already summoned monsters this round, and there is no way to continue summoning. At most, the attack can only continue. But when he saw that another monster on his own field, Grave Guard Pikeman, was also reduced by 500 points, and became 1,500 points of attack power, the elder guarding the tomb immediately dismissed the idea. If the boy named Jiang He, the other monster guy released, is also Fanbing who guards the grave. Then under the field magic buff, the defense power as high as 2,400 points is completely beyond the challenge of pikemen guarding the grave on his field. Because pikemen guarding the tomb didn't attack just now, I chose to change him to defense mode when the combat phase ends and enters the main phase 2. As the voice of the elder guarding the tomb fell, the pikemen guarding the tomb on the field in front of him also squatted down with their spears, and the figure of a huge card placed horizontally appeared at their feet and turned into a defensive posture. The end of the round. "Aren't you going to attack again?" Jiang He clicked his tongue regretfully and muttered. He said that he is still waiting for the uncle guarding the tomb to bump into the monster he built again to open the surprise he prepared. Hearing Jiang He's mumbled words, the face of the elder guarding the tomb opposite immediately became darker. As for Asuka and the others from the Tianqingyuan, they couldn't help helping their foreheads one after another. The degree of irritability of this guy is definitely at the level of the underworld. Then it's my turn, draw a card. After Jiang He regretted it for a while, he quickly drew cards from his dueling deck and then waved his hand with a happy smile. "Since you don't attack the tomb guard uncle over there, then I will solve the mystery myself. Flip the call, scout of the gravekeeper, asking for flowers." As his voice fell, the huge shadow of the card placed horizontally turned over immediately, and a glimmer of light emerged from it in an instant, turning into an ordinary female scout in a black robe and brown skin. He appeared on the field in front of Jiang He in a half-squatting defensive posture. Scout who guards the grave, star, 4 attribute dark, attack power 1,200, defense power 2,000. It's actually the scout who guards the tomb. The elder who guarded the tomb suddenly showed a surprised expression when he saw this figure, and a bad premonition, but Yao Cheng Judai and Maruto Sho and the others looked at Jianta curiously, obviously completely ignorant of the effect. They had a duel with the uncle guarding the tomb just now, and they didn't see the other party summoning this monster at all. Uncle Grave Guard over there, you should know her effect. The flip effect of this card can special summon a Grave Guard monster with an attack power below 1500 points from your deck. The smile on Jiang He's face suddenly brightened. He took out a card from the card deck and motioned to the elder who guarded the grave. The one I chose to special summon is Grave Guard Heavy Gunner. Ha! Following a burst of light, a figure in black robes who looked slightly similar to a pikeman but carried an ancient magic barrel emerged. He squatted in a defensive posture and appeared on the field in front of Jiang He, above the huge shadow of the card that emerged. The Tomb Guard, Heavy Gunner, the elder guard of the tomb suddenly showed a surprised and dumbfounded expression. Including the assassin and other members of the Tomb Guard family, they all looked confused. They are the family of Tomb Guards. Are there any people in charge of such positions? Why don't they know it themselves? But even just looking at Jiang He's strange, bright smile, and the Grave Guard Heavy Gunner, aiming the magic barrel in his direction after appearing, the elder guarding the tomb already had an extremely bad premonition. He had a feeling that something quite outrageous was about to happen. Under the watchful eyes of the Tomb Guard elder and others, Jiang He smiled and took out a card from the only 3 cards left in his hand and showed it. Because I haven't performed a normal summon this round, I summoned it as an attack, Gravekeeper Conjurer. Snort. Following another burst of golden light, a black-skinned figure wearing a black robe and holding a magic wand in both hands emerged humming and laughing, appeared on the field in front of Jiang He. Sorcerer who guards the grave star, 4 attribute dark, attack power, 1400. Defense power, 1200. It's the strange grave guard who can inflict 500 points of damage to the opponent as soon as he is summoned. Beside the altar, Yao Cheng Judai, who was watching the battle, saw the figure of the Tomb Guard monster holding the 607 magic stick and felt his head start to hurt a little. Immediately, the subconscious tactics took a step back. On the opposite side, the Tomb Guard elder, who was the opponent in the duel, saw the figure of the Tomb Guard conjurer and couldn't help feeling a little bit numb. Immediately after seeing Jiang, he said with a bright smile, "The special effect of Gravekeeper's Conjurer, when this card's summoning, flipping summoning, or special summoning is successful, it will deal 500 points of damage to the opponent. The sorcerer guarding the tomb, Avada Kedavra," with Jiang He waving his hand. On the field in front of him, the figure of a black-clothed conjurer holding a conjuration stick suddenly recited a mantra with a burst of golden energy. The elder guarding the tomb couldn't help but subconsciously froze for a moment when he heard the words, Avada Kedavra. Shouldn't the moves of the conjurers of the tomb guards be called taboo spells? But before he wanted to complain, the next second he was hit by a cursed golden curse energy, and he covered his head with his hands and screamed in pain. And the original 3,500 LP health value of the elder guarding the tomb was also reduced by 500 LP by Diddy, and became 3,000 LP. However, it seems that there is no way to directly defeat the elder guarding the tomb, which is really a pity. Seeing that the other party still had 3,000 LP left, Hayato couldn't help but stand on Jiang He's side and speak out with some pity. No, Jiang He, there are obviously several monsters on the field, but they are basically summoned in defense mode, while the Gravekeeper sorcerer with the lowest attack power is summoned in attack mode, which seems quite random. Tianqing Asuka suddenly discovered something was wrong. This guy's offensive must be far more than that. Including Yujo Juyo, Mr. Nade Tokyuji, and Sho Maruto all nodded in agreement instantly. They too have raised the same premonition. The effect of this Tombkeeper Conjurer should only be the beginning of the underworld. Let me tell you another piece of good news, Uncle Grave Guard over there. And soon, they and the Tomb Guard elder, who was their dual opponent in the distance, saw Jiang He with a happy smile on his face. He raised his finger and pointed to the black-robed figure who had just been specially summoned on his field, and said, carrying a magic cannon barrel. The special effect of Grave Guard Heavy Gunner can release a Grave Guard monster on your field as a shell and deal 700 points of damage to the opponent. Nanny. It turned out to be the effect of releasing the monster guarding the tomb and inflicting damage on the opponent. The elder guarding the tomb suddenly realized something and was shocked. Masaka, could it be? Then, he heard Jiang He's faint smile. It's that Masaka, I will liberate the conjurer who guards the grave as a shell and shoot at you. As Jiang He's voice fell, the figure of the black-clothed conjurer who had just been summoned on the field in front of him and dealt 500 points of damage to the Tomb Guard Elder. It immediately turned into a streak of golden energy and fell into the magic barrel carried on the shoulder of the Tomb Guard heavy gunner. In the next second, he aimed at the figure of the elder guarding the tomb on the stone pillar in the distance. Boom. In the slightly flustered expression of the opponent, the magic barrel instantly fired a golden energy light bomb and precisely bombarded the opponent in front of him, exploded a ball of sparks. The white robe was immediately blown out with some wounds. The elder who guarded the tomb couldn't help covering the position of the slight wound in front of him and screamed out in pain. And his 3,000 LP life value also dropped by 700 LP again, becoming 2,300 LP. Uncle Grave Guard over there, you seem to have guessed something about what I'm going to do. Seeing the other party slowing down and looking over in a blink of an eye, Jiang He smiled lightly and immediately gestured to one of the two ambush cards on the field in front of him. Open the ambush card and trap spiritual ritual. A trap with the figure of the Tomb Guard Elder himself, Fanbing and Spearman, performing some ceremony in front of the statue of a snake-bodied monster, summoning a guardian pattern, was thrown open immediately. Seeing this rather familiar pitfall, the face of the elder guarding the tomb suddenly turned green. That expression is even more aggrieved and uncomfortable than when he was injured just now. The ambush card on his field is also this trap, so the effect should be clear. Ding, the mood value of the elder guarding the tomb is plus 900. For the effect of this card, you can select a Gravekeeper monster from your own graveyard to special summon, and this effect is not restricted by the field magic Valley of the King's Rest. And there is only one Grave Guard monster in my cemetery, and the one to be resurrected now is, of course, the Grave Guard Sorcerer. With a brighter smile on Jiang He's face, he raised the dueling disc on his left wrist and said as a gesture. From the graveyard of his duel disc, a faint light flew out and soon landed on the field in front of him, reappearing the black robe of Gravekeeper Sorcerer holding a spell stick, 3/6. Graveguard Conjurer can inflict 500 LP damage to the opponent every time it is summoned, reverse summoned, or special summoned, plus the effect of Graveguard Heavy Gunner as a shell. Dade Temple Teacher's face was covered with cold sweat, and his scalp began to feel a little numb. In other words, the uncle guarding the tomb will experience Jiang He's two combos of torment again. Yujo Juyo, Marutu Sho, Hayato, and even Asuka Tenshin understood immediately, felt their scalps go numb, and all retreated tactically. Stay away from the horrible mess. On the one hand, the heavy gunners guarding the tomb carry out cannonballs, and on the other hand, the conjurers guarding the tomb curse and chant scriptures. The top torture belongs to it. They can't see a breath of the sun at all. Avada Kedavra. With the conjurer who guards the grave, holding the magic wand in both hands, he began to recite the incantation with golden energy emerging again. The elder guarding the tomb suddenly felt his own head ache again. 2,300 LPS life value also decreased again by Diddy, becoming 1,800 LP. But he knows that there will be the familiar cannonball soon. Seeing this situation, the elder guarding the tomb hurriedly raised his hand and signaled to Jiang He. Young man, let's stop here. I lost this dark duel trial. In addition to the conjurer, this young man named Jiang He also has two other grave guard monsters on the field. Relying on the effect of Heavy Gunner who guards the grave, firing 3 shots in a row is enough to reset all his remaining 1,800 LP to 0. The elder guarding the tomb knew that he was bound to lose, but he didn't want to be tortured any longer. Did you surrender so quickly again? I still have a surprise I prepared, but I haven't opened it yet. Hearing this, Jiang He said with a bit of pain and regret. He said that he was not happy enough at 18. Seeing that the last ambush card that Jiang He opened was actually the trap of the resurrected graveyard monster from just now, Ritual of the Spirit. The elder guarding the tomb suddenly became ill. This actually has a second torture combo. The co-author of this boy is not thinking about how to defeat him faster, but how to torture him for a while longer. This made the elder guarding the tomb suddenly say MMP in his heart. He didn't know if he should say it or not. He really wanted to ask Jiang He, everyone guards the tomb, why can you guard the underworld so young? Ding, the mood value of the elder guarding the tomb plus 1,000. Hearing the system prompt, Jiang He couldn't help being surprised. This is the first time he has seen so many thread points continue to be given to him after the judgment duel is over. Could it be that this is the benefit of having a dark duel with a dueling monster spirit who can end in person? This made Jiang He suddenly feel so reluctant to leave the world of dueling monsters and elves. Young man, you have successfully passed the trial, so your companion no longer has to fight me in a dark duel. At this time, the elder guarding the tomb, supported by the spearman, followed the assassin and the fanbing who guarded the tomb, and arrived not far from Jiang He, where he had just stepped off the altar. Tianqing and Asuka and the teacher of Deiji Temple have also walked to his side. However, like the items and treasures of darkness that can resist the power of the dark duel to a certain extent, like the ones given to this 10-generation boy in Yaocheng just now. Even as the patriarch of the tomb guard, I have no second one, the elder guarding the tomb said to Jiang He apologetically. According to the regulations of the tomb guards, the duelists who passed the trial were rewarded, and what was originally set was the disc pendant dark prop. Originally, he thought that the darkness that took away half of the pendant disc props was already a rare situation in thousands of years. Unexpectedly, after such a long time, 2 more appeared immediately. It's outrageous. Especially this boy named Jiang He couldn't even cause a little damage. If there is really no reward, then forget it. Jiang He waved his hand indifferently and signaled. He said that he has not gained anything from this trip. At least the emotional value, he has already earned quite a lot from the elder who guards the tomb. No, this is the rule of our tomb guards for thousands of years, and rewards are still needed. The elder guarding the tomb immediately insisted with a solemn expression. Although I don't know the specific reason, but since you also have our grave guard card group, young man, I don't know if you would like to stay here and take over as the next grave-sweeping elder when the time is right. Lead our tomb guards to a more powerful path. Jiang He's eyelids twitched, and for a moment he didn't know how to complain. Good guy, all the preparatory elders who left him as the tomb guard clan have come. How can this be done? Before Jiang He directly refused, Asuka subconsciously said out loud. Even the squinting-eyed Dade Temple teacher and the 10 generations from Yaocheng all showed stunned expressions. Then immediately the same objection. The former still hopes that Jiang He and Yucheng Judai can stop the mastermind behind 7 stars. The latter is thinking about adjusting the deck later, and then having confidence in a duel with Jiang He. The protection brought by her, as a reward for you passing the trial as a young man, and as an envoy of friendship between you and our grave guards, stay by your side. If Jiang He stayed here, wouldn't it be impossible to see him in the future? But when you encounter dark dual forces or some troubles, she may be able to give you some reminders and protection. He had a luxurious hut in the dueling academy and didn't enjoy it, so he stayed here to guard the grave of the Grave Guard clan. On this card there is a shadow, covered in black robes and a masked hood. The familiar figure of an assassin holding a snake blade dagger exists. Well, that's a pity, so let me give you another more suitable gift. 0, even if it is a preparatory elder, if he has some power he can use it. The elder guarding the tomb immediately explained. The elder guarding the tomb sighed regretfully, then nodded to the masked assassin lady not far away, and then he took out a card from the dueling deck and handed it to Jiang He. Isn't that a pain in the asterisk? I really have no interest in staying here in the world of dueling monsters and elves. Regarding this, Jiang He naturally did not agree at all. This is. Jiang He looked at the tomb guard elder with some guesswork. His expression became strange, and he wanted to ask for confirmation. He shook his head directly and said, Uncle Tomb Guard, you should change to a more reliable reward. This is the card where Assassin of the Tomb Keeper resides. Although in the real world where you were originally, she may not be able to materialize. Especially, the 3 suns here are shining. Jiang He doesn't want to be like the elder who guards the tomb and others. Jiang He also never expected it. The first card he Jiangdation awakened to produce a real female dual monster spirit unexpectedly came from this way. A card obtained from the Gravekeepers for winning the Dark Duel trial. But this uncle who guards the grave, if your deck lacks the assassin who guards the grave, won't you be unable to deal with other intruders in the future? After Jiang He received the card of the assassin of the tomb guard, he couldn't help asking in doubt. Among the tomb guards, he saw quite a few people like the fan soldiers guarding the tomb, the spearmen guarding the tomb, and so on. It's almost like it was made in a mold, and you can see a large area at a glance. But it seems that there is only one existence like this young lady who is the assassin of the tomb guard. Jiang He is not difficult to guess. Now after giving this card to him, the card group of the elder guarding the tomb may be completely gone. Seeing this, the 10 generations of Yaocheng also thought of this point and looked at the elder guarding the tomb with doubts. Having seen the opponent's 2 duels, it is not difficult for them to see. The tomb guard assassin, who can change the offensive and defensive forms of the opponent's monsters when attacking, seems to be the most important means of attack for this tomb guard elder uncle deck. After all, most high-attack monsters do not necessarily have high defense. This can also make up for the lack of high attack power monsters in the deck of the Grave Guard Elder. No, boy, the card you used just now has brought new possibilities and paths for our Grave Guards. The Elder guarding the tomb thanked Jiang He with a smile. I will let a suitable part of the clan try to change jobs in the direction of Heavy Gunner who guards the grave. So even if we lose the power of the Tombkeeper assassins, it will not weaken the strength of our Tombkeeper clan Tilda. Jiang He's expression suddenly became subtle. As for Asuka from Tianqingyuan, the teacher from Deji Temple, and the 10 generations from Yaocheng, they all froze for a moment, and their expressions became weird. In other words, the elder who guards the tomb intends to imitate the tomb guard deck that Jiang He just used, to deal with the people who break into the temple of this tomb guard family in the future. Thinking of this, she them couldn't help but look at Jiang He subtly. In the future, those who break into the temple of this tomb guard family should write a bloody and tearful complaint letter to this guy. Jiang He, you have done all the bad things. JPG. Hey, it's none of my business. Jiang He coughed dryly. He said, who would have thought that the elder who guarded the tomb planned to transfer some suitable clan members to the direction of the Heavy Gunner who guarded the tomb. But anyway, he has many ways to restrain himself and it won't affect him. Immediately, Jiang He also directly changed the subject and asked, speaking of which, where should we come from now? Although he knew the way to get out, he couldn't find the exit. There are quite a lot of twists and turns in the Temple of the Tomb Guards. The little guy's spherical chestnut ball may not be able to continue to find a position. When Yu Cheng Judai and Squinting Eyes Dade Temple teacher heard the words, they couldn't help being a little stunned. He looked at the elder guarding the tomb. Please come with me, I will lead the way for you. The assassin guarding the tomb immediately stood up, took off his black hood and mask, and said to Jiang He and the others, when the three suns in the sky temporarily merge into one, it is the time when the passages on both sides are opened for a short time. Just pass through the gate of the cemetery at that moment. Oh, so the assassin guarding the tomb is actually a very beautiful woman. Seeing the assassin who guarded the tomb take off the hood and mask of the black robe, the teacher of Dade Temple squinted his head and scratched his head in surprise, haha, and said politely. However, he was also a little bit regretful that in this duel with the tomb guard elder, he still failed to see the strange and powerful power hidden in this student Jiang He. With such a big sister by his side, Jiang He's luck is a little bit better. Woo woo woo. As for Maruto Sho and Hayato, they were envious of Jiang He immediately and their tears flowed down in disbelief. Only Yao Cheng Judai didn't seem to have any thoughts at all and scratched his head for some reason. Card guys don't take objects. JPG. Tilda, Tianqingyun Asuka immediately hugged her arms and snorted softly, feeling so bad for no reason, because it was a dark duel just now she didn't think about it at all. Now I suddenly realized that Jiang He was beside this guy, except for the vampire maid Kimura. There is actually one more dueling monster elf like the Grave Guard assassin. Fortunately, this time it's dueling monster spirits. Thinking of this, Asuka Tenshingen could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. According to the information she learned during this period, under normal circumstances, in the real world, ordinary people simply cannot see, let alone touch, the existence of dueling monster spirits. For the time being, there is no need to worry about what threat this Grave Guard assassin will pose to her. As for Asuka's snort, Jiang He naturally heard Li Zhao. This made him feel a little embarrassed. However, Jiang He also suddenly discovered that this trick seems to be very useful for Asuka. It seems that he can think about it later. Under the guidance of the young lady who guarded the tomb, Jiang He and the others quickly arrived at the ancient arched gate that they had entered before. And the three suns in the sky above, with the passage of time they stayed here, are almost about to merge into one again. The time is almost right. Jiang He glanced at it and nodded in satisfaction. Oh. The next moment, a burst of familiar multicolored curtain-like luster suddenly lit up. This caused Jiang He and the others to close their eyes subconsciously and raise their hands to cover their eyes, and the surrounding scene quickly changed in a blur. Wait until the blinding light disappears. Slowly opening his eyes, Jiang He soon discovered that the surrounding scene had completely returned to its original appearance. A broken ancient arch and some ruins around it. Apparently they had returned to the island where the Dueling Academy was located. In the blink of an eye, Jiang He saw that Asuka's unconscious head was leaning against him. Yujo Judai, Maruto Sho, and Squinting Eyes Deiji teacher were also lying on the open space of the ruins not far away in different postures. They were all in a coma, and there seemed to be no sign of waking up. This made Jiang He raise his eyebrows in doubt. Please don't worry, they are all just passing through the boundaries of the two worlds continuously in a short period of time. causing their bodies to become unsuitable and temporarily comatose, and they will wake up after a while. At this time, a familiar phantom of a dignified lady in black robes suddenly appeared from the deck around Jiang He's waist and took the initiative to explain to him. Apparently, it was the dueling monster elf he had harvested this time, the assassin who guarded the tomb. It seems that we can only wait here for a while. Jiang He suddenly understood, nodded, and said. Afterwards, he looked at the young lady who was the assassin who guarded the tomb and scratched his face involuntarily and thought of an embarrassing question. Speaking of which, I still don't know what your name is. If you keep calling him Tomb Keeper Assassin, it seems a bit inappropriate. The young lady guarding the tomb and the assassin couldn't help being stunned when she heard the words. Then she said with some embarrassment, when we are born, our tomb guards will be determined in the future. So from the very beginning, my name has been the assassin who guards the tomb, and only heretics who have left the clan will choose a new name. But if you want to call me conveniently, please call me the same name as my missing sister, Isis. Isis. Jiang He showed a puzzled expression on his face, rubbing his chin and pondering, very familiar name. It seems that in his impression there is such a name. Soon, a flash of light flashed in Jiang He's mind and he thought of who it was. Wasn't it the female duelist who knew duel King Yugi Muto and others, and was in charge of one of the 7,000-year-old artifacts, Bibfa 1,000-year-old jewelry? The other party seems to be called Isis. And speaking of it, it seems that the other party is indeed a descendant of the tomb guards who claim to be in the real world. It's just that the opponent is not the identity of the dueling monster elf. But considering this world of duels, it seems that there are cases where human beings become dual monster elves or even reincarnated. Jiang He immediately felt that maybe he, the young lady who guarded the tomb assassin, might really have some connection with the other party. After all, there is a ready-made example of a person who possesses the power of his previous life lying on the ground not far away from him, sleeping soundly. That's right, it is Yao Cheng 10 generations of passionate idiots. Well, just when Jiang He was thinking about it, Asuka, who was in a coma, was beside him and slowly woke up with some discomfort. Then I noticed him very much and remembered what happened in the past. Jiang He, we are now come back from there. Tianqingyu and Asuka froze for a moment, slowly sat up calmly, looked at the situation around her and asked. Compared with the previous Infuksu incident, when she was unconscious for the first time and found herself leaning on Jiang He's body, much more natural, just a little embarrassed. I have come back, but I just don't know how much time has passed here. Jiang He shook his head and said. He had checked the sky just now and found that it was only around noon in the daytime. If it's the same day, then it means that they are dueling the monster spirit world over there, and it's only been a few hours. But if time flows differently, then I really don't know how long it has been. After all, in the different space world over there are always 3 suns hanging in the sky, and there is no difference between day and night and the concept of time at all. Finally back. At this time, the squinting-eyed Deiji teacher, Yujo Judai, Maruto Sho, and others also slowly woke up from the coma. They all looked happy to see the sun again after the disaster. Regarding the performance of this wave of squinting-eyes Dade Temple teacher, Jiang He thought again to himself and gave a critical blow to the 10 generations in Yaocheng. From being full of energy to having nothing to love in life, it only takes Jiang He a short sentence. Almost as soon as he returned here and woke up first, the other party quickly recovered. He said that if you have money and a vampire maid to run errands, you can be so willful. Yucheng Judai was so hungry that he suggested energetically. Jiang He, please be sure to bring some food to the teacher too. Then let's go back to the dormitory first. Some pickled fish that missed the Osiris Red dormitory are dry. The food in the Osiris dormitory is basically hopeless. I'd better let Camilla rush back first and see if I can get a luxurious bento from Aunt Domi. After all, he is a true alchemy master with 7-star dark props. Jiang He's direct words made Yucheng Judai realize a painful reality. Well, squinting eyes, the teacher of Dade Temple and the 10 generations of Yaocheng all knelt down on the spot and sat down, clasped their hands with tears in their eyes and begged Jiang He. Instantly petrified by lightning on the spot, then fell to the ground and lost all motivation. Jiang He can only be called dramatist. As for Maruto Sho and Hayato, they also realized something was wrong and screamed. It was not difficult for him to notice that this guy hadn't been in a coma for much time at all. Master Daito Kyuji came here with us this time. Even if you go back to the Osiris Red dormitory, you won't have anything to eat at all. Seeing Asuka from Tianqingyun next to her, she couldn't help crying and laughing and glanced at Jiang He and the others. I didn't expect that in the world of dueling monster spirits over there, we had already stayed for 2 days. and it felt like only a few hours had passed. That night, Asuka of the Tenshingin was sitting on the floor cushion in the living room of the luxury cottage and sighed in surprise at the information she just learned. It was none other than Wang Jingmu and San's daddy who came to tell these news. "I said, you two bastards, why are you here again?" Jiang He, on the other hand, looked at Manjomo Nazubai and Misuad Daichai, who were stuffing rice balls and sushi into their mouths with black lines all over their heads, and couldn't help but twitched at the corners of their mouths. "I really want Camilla and Isis, the young lady who keeps the grave, to throw these two sets of sacks into the lake of the Dueling Academy." After returning to the Osiris Red dormitory at noon, Asuka from Tianqingyuan, Yaocheng Shidai and others just ate some bento bought from Aunt Domai's canteen for Kamura to return early. We took a rest for a while. Not long after that, the two who got the news came to the door from the health room. "It seems that I have been living in the health room for the past 2 days. The main reason is that the timing was a bit too coincidental. When Wang Jingmu and I got the news, it happened to be dinner time at night, so I thought to come directly to you." While eating, San's daddy explained with a reddened face. "That's right, these sushi and rice balls should be regarded as a reward for the hero who just solved the 7-star dark duelist." And Wang Jingmu, Dubai had completely abandoned the thing called face skin, and said happily with a sour plum rice ball in his left hand and fish roe sushi in his right hand. Continue to implement the concept of eating one more rice ball from Jiang He and win back $1 more from the tens of millions and hundreds of millions that I lost to Jiang He before. Water. Then after stuffing 3 rice balls and 5 sushi madly, Wang Jiangmu was choked and beat himself in front of him, almost choking to death. Quickly snatched the beverage bottle that Yaocheng Judai was drinking and drank it all in one go. Seeing Jiang He and Tianqingyun Asuka and the others all had strange expressions, they all stopped in place holding sushi. His eyes fell on Wang Jingmu and Yaocheng Judai, who also looked confused. Does this count as indirect? And Wang Jingmu and Yucheng Judai, who reacted, also turned green all of a sudden. Then on the spot, as if his soul had come out of his body, he collapsed to the ground helplessly. They became 2 salted fish who lost their dreams and future in life. Wang Jingmu suddenly didn't want to come to this sad place. Cough. "So in the past 2 days, have you eliminated the thieves group among the 7-star dark duelists?" Jiang He held back his laughter, followed the topic just now, and asked San's daddy, who was the only one who could answer the question. Asuka Tenshin next to him, and Maruto Sho and Hayato, who were checking the situation of Yujo Judai's hot-blooded idiot on the other side, couldn't help looking at Misuad Daichai, waiting for the other party's answer. Yes, the stupid thieves and thieves group of the 7-star dark duelists are actually the dueling monster spirits of these cards. Sans said that from the ground next to Wang Jingmu sitting just now, he picked up the 5 cards that Wang Jingmu Nadabai brought over from the beginning and put them on the ground. I showed it to Jiang He and the others. There are 4 men and 1 woman on it. All 5 of them are dressed as thieves in tan clothes and red pants, and there are some strange-looking figures. Ah, that is the first-year student who dropped out of the Osiris Red dormitory before Chi. And one of the guards at the Dueling Academy, Dr. Carey, Sho Maruto and Hayato were surprised to recognize the figures on 2 of the cards. The rest of the people seemed to be a little familiar. The female thief seems to be the special school doctor of the Obelisk Blue Women's Dormitory, Miss Mina. Tianqingyun Asuka also recognized some figures unexpectedly and said, "And the maintenance staff of Osiris Red Dormitory, Mr. Gogo." 1. Why do the seniors of the Heavenly Academy even know who the maintenance personnel of the Osiris Red Dormitory are? Sans daddy scratched his head in doubt and asked. Well, of course it's because. Tianqingyun Asuka was startled for a moment, never expecting that the topic would involve herself. After she glanced at Jiang He subconsciously, she quickly found a suitable reason and said, "I'm relying on Jiang He's side now. If there are some things that need to be repaired, we must not bother him anymore. We must first understand the situation." Is that so? Misuwa Daicha and Maruto Sho nodded in instant belief, didn't think about anything else at all. Card guys don't take objects. JPG. But Jiang He himself can see the reason at a glance. Asuka obviously wanted to help him with something, so she just learned about it by the way. This way, he can help him take care of the house when the need arises. Camula, who was crouching behind Jiang He and was honestly a maid, gave someone a disgusted look. She had a premonition before, and now she really started to smell some kind of nasty sour smell. But since you and Wang Jingmu defeated each other, why did you both live in the health room? Sensing that Jiang He's expression was different from that of Seda and the others, you and Asuka immediately changed the subject, Misuwa Daichai asked. asked her questions. Hearing this, Jiang He also looked at San's daddy with some doubts. At this time, San's and Wang Jingmu's 7-star gate keys, which are so funny, are obviously still on their bodies. But it turned out that both of them seem to have been recuperating in the health room for 2 days. Although the dark duel will cause injuries, it is obvious that they will only come one by one. If Wang Jingmu loses, then San's will take over. There is no such thing as a situation where both of the keys of 2 people are still there, but they are both injured and entered the health room. Actually, the situation is like this. As soon as he heard Asuka's question from Tianqingyuan, San's daddy suddenly seemed to have recalled some bad memories, and replied very painfully. Not long after you left the academy and went to explore the ruins behind the island, Wang Jingmu and I went to the principal's office. Informed Principal Samejima of what Kamura said, that the Black Scorpion thieves had infiltrated the duel academy. Not long after, the leader of the 5 Black Scorpion thieves named Zaluj pretended to be the police department. Invited by Principal Samejima, the original intention was to find out the identity of the other party secretly. As a result, these stupid thieves have completely exposed themselves from the very beginning, leaving countless loopholes. 940, Wang Jiangmu also sat up again when he heard the topic, and took over the conversation with fists and pretended to speak. Moreover, the disturbing yellow elf on my side also witnessed the other party's attempt to steal the key to the 7-star gate, and woke up my detective's 10,000 eyes lightning, and stopped the other party in time. Isn't that up to here, and everything is developing in a good direction? Jiang He said as if he was listening to a story while eating his own fried shrimp. Although there was a slight discrepancy from the situation in his impression, it was still the same overall. After discovering these few in time, even the key to the 7-star gate needs to absorb the energy of the dark duel. It can be used to open the identity of the stupid thief who doesn't even know the seal of the 3 phantom 7-star gates. Then engage in a dark duel with the opponent. As a result, when I was the opponent at the beginning, planning to have a dark duel with the opponent, unexpectedly, some of these stupid thieves took advantage of their status to put a lot of crotons in our food. San's daddy said with an aggrieved expression. He went into the infirmary not because he was injured in a dark duel. Instead, I ate too much croton-containing food which spoiled my stomach. Jiang He and Tianqingyuan Asuka and the others suddenly showed a trace of pity and looked at San's daddy. Jiang He also never expected those stupid thieves actually made such a show. But since Sans was recruited, Wang Jingmu, who was staying together, shouldn't be spared either. Thinking of this, Jiang He couldn't help but look at Wang Jingmu subtly. Could it be that Wang Jingmu had a duel with the opponent at that time, was it? I only had time to take a bite of the fried prawns in my portion of food at that time, and the rest was taken by Sans, so it just happened to be spared. Seeing Jiang He's strange eyes, Wang Jiangmu quickly understood and made a sound to explain himself. Good guy co-authoring Sans is still his own fault. The way Jiang He and the others looked at Sans' daddy suddenly changed again. This made Sans feel pain all over his face. The things that happened in the past 2 days are basically these. But after the 5 stupid thieves were defeated and sealed back to the original card, they also told me a message. Wang Jiangmu suddenly seemed to have remembered something, took back the 5 cards, and said with a serious expression, "It seems that another 7-star dark duelist is already on his way to the island where the dueling academy is located. And this 7-star dark duelist seems to be much stronger than their thieves. Much better than a few of them, isn't that a nonsense description?" Jiang He complained speechlessly. He really couldn't think of anyone among the 7-star dark duelists who was weaker than this group of 5 dueling monster elves and thieves. The latter part of the news is basically not much different from what was not said. Even Kamala, who has been subconsciously rebelling against what Jiang He said, this time continued to squat there with an expression of approval. Although those 5 stupid thieves are dueling monster spirits themselves, they are materialized through the power of dark props. But as a duelist, I'm afraid that even Professor Kronos, who was defeated by her using the target card, can easily defeat them. However, the first half of the news, which has a new crisis and is approaching, is quite useful. Tianqingyuan and Asuka also said in agreement. Now we still have 4 keys to the 7-star gate, and the 7-star dark duelist over there, disturbing the 3 brothers and the vampire maid Camilla who was waiting there with the same fruit juice tray, looked at each other. For a moment there was an inexplicable sense of sadness and sympathy. Then I took pajamas and other things and went to my own hot spring bathroom, planning to soak in a hot spring and relax, plus a Kamura at most. The indoor hot spring bathroom in this luxury cottage seems to be used by only Jiang He and her. A comfortable look ready to go to the hot spring with its owner. A little embarrassed, he took the initiative to say good night to Jiang He, then good night first, followed by the unlucky little brother disturbing the three brothers, helping to hold the mini swim rings and juices of the duel monster fairy style. After living here for the second day, she also discovered a very subtle problem. Isn't that a hot spring bath room 37 that she and Jiang He indirectly use? With a confident smile on San's daddy's simple and honest face, he clenched his fists and analyzed. This time it has become our big advantage. At this point, Jiang waved in a subtle way which was regarded as a response. Why does he feel that this product seems to have set a flag? Counting Jiang He and the elders of the tomb guards you defeated over there this time, there are only 3 left. I heard that my brother seems to be waking up, so I'll go to the health room tomorrow to see how he's doing. Looking at San's daddy's confident face, Jiang He couldn't help being a little silent. Next to him, there is also a spherical chestnut ball guy who also holds the elf miniature towel. After Yujo Judai and Manjamu left for a while, Tenshingin Asuka, who had changed into the same clothes after taking a bath, was in front of the guest room. Because Professor Kronos was absent for some reason, I will take the place of this morning's theoretical knowledge class. The next morning, Mr. Ayukawa, a healthcare teacher with big hair and white clothes, was sitting in front of the stage in the big classroom, talking about the content of the course. After Jiang He glanced politely to show his respect, he yawned and raised his chin again. I have nothing to do, so I counted the relics expedition to the island this time and the gains from the different worlds of the tomb guards. Name, Jiang He. Skills, Elves Visibility, the Heart of the Top Mirror and Water, the Seal of the River, Dragon Sport Seal, Dragon Heart Seal, Dragon Tail, Craftsman currently owning card groups. Kill Dark Master card group once, Lava Demon God card group, Sneaky Bird card group. Yingsheng card group, Disturbance card group, Dragon Destroying Sword card group, Divine Light Declaration card group, Tomb Guard card group, Underworld Cutting Blood Flow. Emotion value 4,000. After exchanging the Tomb Guard deck yesterday, Jiang He 18 remembered that the remaining emotional points should be only 600 points. Now it has suddenly become 4,000. Apparently, the extra 3,400 emotional value points were contributed to him by the elder guarding the tomb for his friendship, as expected of a dark game with dueling monster elves. A satisfied smile appeared on Jiang He's face. Then in the next second, he suddenly felt a little regretful that the Black Scorpion Thieves group, who were also dueling monster spirits, had already been dealt with by Wanjingmu Neabai. Jiang He always feels that he seems to have missed a lot of emotional points. Wrong billion. JPG, it seems that next time for those 7-star dark duelists, if it is suitable, it is better for him to lead the good people to hurry up by themselves. Jiang He sighed with some heartache. Otherwise, how much money should I lose? But soon, Jiang He also suddenly thought of a problem. Since the time in the world of dueling monsters and elves over there is different from the time in the real world here. He had only spent a few hours there, but in the real world here, 2 days had actually passed. Then he refreshed the exchange options in the system mall every 2 days. According to what time? Thinking of this, Jiang He continued to look at his system panel with some curiosity. Soon, he saw 4 new system options that had been refreshed again. System Mall refresh every 2 days, today's options, card group, EI draw card group Takabana Kazuma version, 500 points. Card group Mirage Amazon card group, Underworld Touch Porcelain Flow, 1500 points. Card group Different Dimension Female Warriors card group excludes the Underworld, 1500 points. Skill Screw Pulling. When the duel is almost certain to lose, you can have a chance once a day to make your own duel disc explode and make the duel invalid. Note, it is not a dark duel, it can only be used when there is no rule power control, 2,000 points. It's actually refreshed. Jiang He couldn't help raising his eyebrows unexpectedly and muttered. It seems that the exchange options in this system mall are mainly calculated and refreshed according to the time in the real world. On this point, he needs to pay a little attention in the future. In case of a wave of dark duels, the time is not calculated properly, resulting in refreshing the skills such as the Red Dragon Seal that was originally intended to be exchanged. Then he would be a little bit pained. Wait until the next time to flash it out. I don't know that I have to wait until the Year of the Monkey. Immediately, Jiang He happened to take a closer look at the 4 system options for this refresh, see if there is anything suitable for exchange. Soon he noticed the skill refreshed this time, pulling out the screw. It seemed that Jiang He wanted to complain a little bit. No, what the hell is screwing? He never expected that he would be able to create such a skill full of slots. However, although this skill looks good, it seems to be completely useless to him. As a great duelist whose mission it is to heal others, Jiang He said that in his dictionary there is no such word as must lose. And if the duel disc explodes or something, it really won't hurt my hand. But after seeing the card group called Jiff draw cards, his eyes lit up immediately and he knew what it was. The smile on the corner of Jiang He's mouth suddenly widened. There is even a little bit of wonder, does this person exist in this dueling world? He looked directly at the remaining 3 card group options. Regarding the first option, Zhu Yizhen's name, Jiang He didn't have much impression. 473 just does not flip a coin to determine whether the effect is positive or negative. And 500 emotional points, with his current big dog level of 4,000 emotional points, it just happens to be exchangeable. But this deck, compared to the power of the coin-tossing secret ritual, for him who has the skill of inevitable magic draw once in a round, it seems that it is not completely unusable. Sans, I have to criticize you, remember to pay attention in class. To this, Jiang He immediately replied with a righteous word. Instead, draw a specific card from the deck which can activate a very powerful effect. In a sense, this EI draw card group is the same underworld card group as Seo's mystery power deck. Jiang He. He expressed dissatisfaction with this wave that interrupted his distracted thinking. Just when Jiang He was happily considering the option of exchanging for the new underworld deck, he suddenly heard Sans' daddy call to him in a low voice not far away. And there is a high probability that the person who uses it will be the type who will be brought to the underworld. Jiang He decisively ignored this strange skill exchange option. Jiang He would like to call it the underworld gambling dog deck, like something important. Sans' daddy suddenly had black lines all over his head, but Jiang He took down the hand that was resting on his chin, obviously wandering away. He believed the nonsense of listening attentively in class. But soon Sans' daddy suppressed the complaints in his heart and immediately talked about the business. Jiang He, have you noticed that it seems strange that many people have skipped class? Hearing what he said, Jiang He couldn't help but come back to his senses. He looked around and found that there seemed to be a large vacancy in this large classroom. It seemed very empty, and most of them are students of Obelisk Blue and Helios Huang. On the other hand, on their side, the 5 Osiris Red people, including Wanjingmu Nadabai, all came to the class. Although all of them were sleeping, none of them was listening to the class. And when he looked over, Asuka of the Tenshingin, who was not far away, obviously also heard the movement from their side, and also thought of something and nodded towards him. It seems very likely that what the bandit group said before, the new 7-star dark duelist has appeared on this island. Jiang He nodded in consideration. He also suddenly thought of what kind of plot this was. It should be the muscle girl who used the Amazon deck among the 7-star dark duelist has appeared here. Captured the person. 7-star dark duelist. Hearing this word, Yu Cheng Judai and Wanjingmu, who were originally sleeping soundly, felt like a conditioned reflex. He opened his eyes and stood up from his seat, kept looking around, still muttering, "Where is it? Where is it?" "In front of the podium, Mr." Ayukawa, who was talking about the content of theoretical knowledge, suddenly looked at the 2 people who suddenly stood up at the same time, as if they were having a nightmare. "Yao Cheng Judai and Wanjingmu over there, do you have any questions?" Teacher Ayukawa's face darkened quickly. It's fine if there are so many students skipping classes, but now there are still 2 blatantly sleeping and having the same nightmare at the same time. Even if she is just called in temporarily to take over as a substitute, she will be angry if she is underestimated like this. Yu Cheng Judai and Wanjingmu also discovered the situation at once, and it seemed that something was wrong. Immediately, his face was full of embarrassment. "Both of you, each of you will write an in-depth self-criticism and a 10,000-word dual theory knowledge experience, and hand it over to me." Hearing this punishment, Yu Cheng Judai and Wanjingmu both immediately sat down with unlovely expressions on their faces. Seeing that, Jiang He almost couldn't hold back and laughed out loud. He said that he has received professional training and generally does not laugh easily unless you can't help it. As for the compatibility of these 2 sand sculptures, Jiang He suggested that they form a group to debut in the dual world. Compete for the title of sand sculpture double duelist with the Labyrinth brothers from before. Crack. At this moment, the door of the large classroom suddenly opened. A female assistant teacher wearing sun god yellow dormitory clothes walked in with a backpack on an anxious expression. He whispered something to Mr. Ayukawa to explain the situation. This backpack was picked up in the forest south of the Dueling Academy, but the student who used this backpack was not seen nearby. While the female assistant teacher in the sun god Huang dormitory informed the situation. Jiang He also easily flew over the little guy with a spherical chestnut ball to eavesdrop on what the other party said. "By the way, I recited that content. That backpack seems to belong to a student named Kawada in the Helios Huang dormitory like mine." Sans daddy looked at the far side of the podium, the backpack that was brought, and immediately recognized whose item it was. In other words, those people who didn't come to class this time are all missing in the forest south of the dueling academy. Tianxingyu and Asuka didn't know when she and her two girlfriends had already quietly moved to the empty place next to Jiang He, taking advantage of the opportunity of negotiating with Mr. Ayukawa. Jiang He and the others naturally headed directly towards the woods on the south side of the dueling academy to check the situation. In fact, it was indeed as Jiang He expected, that Mr. Ayukawa with big hair obviously couldn't just go on like this. Clutching his own head with both hands, he fell into a daze. There have been cases of missing students and quite a few who have missed classes. Then they will naturally be free and have time to go over there to see the situation. Then go to the woods over there to see what's going on. Jiang He suggested directly. After learning about the situation, Mr. Ayukawa immediately interrupted the class and went to the principal's office to report the news. Along the way, Junko and Beihui, the two followers of Asuka from Tianqingyuan, looked around curiously and said, "See, clear." Instead, he will notify the bald-headed Samejima principal. So in such a large forest, where might the location of the 7-star dark duelist be, Shen? The spherical chestnut ball immediately tapped its leather ball-like tan head, and the one flying in front shouted, constantly pointing its short fingers in a certain direction. "Although we have been in the dueling academy for a year, we haven't really been here much in the woods here. Little guy, can you detect any evil thoughts?" Jiang He also took a look at the big invisible forest and asked the little guy with a spherical leaf ball that emerged. As a complete body with attributes such as academic scum and road idiots, Yu Cheng Shidai is completely numb at this time. After hearing these news, she immediately analyzed with a solemn expression. At the end of the position over there seemed to be quite a few tiny voices. Please be careful. At this time, the voice of the young lady who guarded the tomb and the assassin also reminded Jiang He, but she herself did not emerge. Regarding this, Jiang He nodded secretly and immediately signaled to Asuka and Sans daddy. "You've found your way, come with me." Among the few people here, only Yu Cheng Judai and Wang Jingmu have the ability to see dual monster spirits. No one else could see the existence of the little spherical chestnut ball at all. You can only go to the place you found by following his way. Is it the spherical chestnut ball or the tombkeeper assassin? After hearing the words, Asuka of the heavenly courtyard was stunned for a moment and immediately guessed some reasons. Soon, she and her two girlfriends followed Jiang He, heading towards the end of a certain direction in the woods. Wait until a group of people pass through a large woodland. Not long after, a spacious wasteland of khaki rocks appeared in front of Jiang He and the others. At this time, there is a large cylindrical building like an ancient coliseum standing at the end of the wasteland. What is that? Yao Cheng Judai, Misawa Daddy, and Wang Jingmu all stared at the ancient coliseum building with wide eyes in surprise. When did such foreign buildings exist on the island of the Dueling Academy? And it seems that the traces are still very new. It's like it was recently built. It really is that muscular woman from the Amazon family that appeared. Jiang He looked at the familiar ancient Colosseum building and suddenly murmured in his heart. Immediately he directly suggested, "Go in and take a look and you will know the specific situation." Then he took the lead towards the gate of the ancient Colosseum and lost. Seeing this, the others immediately followed up vigilantly. After entering the inside, Jiang He and the others quickly saw the building structure supported by many pillars in the Colosseum. And on many steps, there are many dueling academy students who are working as coolies with various primitive tools, prying huge clods of earth and stone bricks. In it, Jiang He even saw a very familiar figure of a professor with a golden mushroom head. Those are the missing students, Asuka of the Heavenly Academy said in surprise. And Professor Kronos is here. Yujo Judai, Manjamu, Marutu Sho, and the others also stared at the rather conspicuous figure of the golden-haired mushroom-headed professor and exclaimed, On the steps in the distance, he was prying stones with a shovel. When the coolie Professor Kronos heard the movement, he immediately spotted Jiang He and the others coming. There was a bewildered expression on his face. Mamma mia, even the underachiever boys were brought here, roar. At this moment, the roar of a tiger suddenly sounded not far away. In the blink of an eye, Jiang He, Tianqingyun Asuka and the others saw that a tall, vicious, blue-eyed tiger with one eye injured had already appeared on the side of the Colosseum. Only a few meters away from them. Wow, there's a tiger. Yao Cheng Judai, Marutu Sho, and Wanjamu were all frightened, and a drop of cold sweat appeared on their faces. In the next second, they all shouted and hurriedly ran to the stone pillar behind. With a whoosh, they went up to the pillar, and all of them were hugged there like an R-hat, all in one go. The speed is so fast that it can almost catch up with the movement of Professor Golden Mushroom Head moving around in the bushes. Seeing Jiang He's face twitch, I really want to make a complaint. Where did these goods come from so fast? Why is the painting style so different from his side? Roar. And the vicious blue-eyed, one-eyed Bibk tiger also roared when he saw this, and directly rushed to Jiang He and Asuka of the Heavenly Academy who hadn't run away. That tiger is coming. Junko Beihui, two of Asuka's best friends in Tianqingyu and Asuka, hugged each other in fright and screamed with their eyes closed. Even Tianqingyu and Asuka was also a little frightened and didn't know what to do for a while. Only Jiang He was still quite calm. Because he can call out that vampire maid Kimura to block the knife at any time. With the opponent as a vampire, and with the dark power of the dark lasso, it is obviously possible to deal with a tiger. Even this tiger is essentially a materialized dueling monster elf Amazon's pet tiger. Drink. But just when Jiang He was about to take out Camula's darkness card and call Camula who stayed in the luxury cottage directly. The figure of a dignified female assassin in a black robe and holding a snake blade dagger but with a low voice emerged first from the deck on him. Jiang He blushed when he saw it. As a dueling monster spirit, it can still see the existence of the grave guard assassin. With a vaguely semi-material figure, he attacked the ferocious blue-eyed one-eyed tiger with the snake blade dagger. After hearing what Asuka asked Jiang He, they just subconsciously looked at Jiang He together. How can a master with such positive energy learn some bad habits? Is that the assassin who guarded the tomb just now? Tianqingin Asuka asked Jiang He in surprise. Puche. From her angle of view, she could just vaguely see that just when the huge ferocious tiger pounced towards it just now, an illusory familiar figure in black robe suddenly appeared. At this time, I was a little surprised why it was all right. He could only stand in front of Jiang He in fear, and after one blow he had turned into the invisible dual monster elf phantom, the tomb guard assassin, roaring in a low voice. With a flash of cold light, the one-eyed tiger roared with blood splattered from its wound, and was directly knocked out by the assassin of the tomb guard and fell to the ground far away. When he quickly got up again, he no longer dared to attack lightly. And her two girlfriends, Junzi and Beihui, didn't see anything at all. They were so frightened that they subconsciously closed their eyes and hugged each other. Moreover, the tiger seemed to have been injured and kept growling in fear, not daring to come down again. It can even see the little spherical chestnut ball falling on the shoulder of the young lady who guards the grave, provoking it with its tongue out. He said, "Who did this little guy learn from?" Crackle. Then it disappeared immediately. I also didn't expect that Isis could also be half-materialized here and exert a part of the power of the dueling monster elves. Regarding Asuka's question, Jiang He also nodded slightly in surprise. He originally looked at this young lady who was the assassin of the grave guard, but before that she was always in the same state as the little guy, the spherical chestnut ball and the disturbing three brothers, an ordinary dueling monster spirit. I thought that the other party is in the real world here and can't be materialized at all, so what kind of power can he exert? Unexpectedly, I was able to semi-materialize for a short time and play out some Isis. Hearing Jiang He's name, Tianqingyu and Asuka suddenly felt a little jealous for no reason. But soon, she quickly shook her head to shake off this weird thought. Not to mention other things, the current situation is not the time to think about this kind of thing. At the same time, the stacked arhats are usually hugged on the top of the stone pillars, and the Trembling Sands Daddy and Wanjingmu, Yaocheng Shidai and 5 people, and the coolie Professor Jin Maogutu and others are also watching from there. Dumbfounded. Originally, when they saw the tiger pounced on Jiang He and the others, they were still a little worried about the situation, but they didn't expect such a change at all. If they had known this earlier, then why did they run so hard just now? Bass. At this moment, a somewhat rough female voice suddenly sounded from a distance, shouting at the tiger who was constantly roaring in fear. Immediately, Jiang He and the others saw in a blink of an eye. A burly figure with extremely long purple-red single ponytail hair turned over neatly in midair and landed beside the tall tiger. Then he raised his left hand wearing the dual disc and calmed down the huge injured Amazon pet tiger. That man. Woman, could it be the dark duelist of the 7 stars? Whether it was Asuka of the Heavenly Court or Misuwa Daji, Yaocheng Judai and others who had fallen from the stone pillar again, they all looked at it in a daze. Even Jiang He, even though he had expected it, was a little powerless to complain when he saw the opponent's rather strong muscles and the cool blue-gray bust at this time. For a moment, he couldn't tell whether it was the chest muscles of the other party or typical Donkey Kong Barbie belongs. Especially the golden thorn collar on the neck and the matching collars on the limbs, Jiang He can only say that they are quite trendy. My name is Tania, the king of the descendants of the Amazon family, as you have guessed, and also one of the 7-star dark duelists. The sassy muscular woman with purple ponytail and long whip hair looked at Jiang He and the others with her mouth tilted, and said with a smile. Since the construction of the duel arena here has almost been completed, and the opponent has already arrived, there is no need to force these good-hearted friends to help. Tania said and looked at the students of the Dueling Academy who had finished lifting the stones, as well as Kronos and others. Smiling, I didn't know where to take out a stack of rewards and lined up to send them one by one. Thank you for your help. This arena can be built so quickly. It's a little care and it's a gift. It's been hard work. This is yours. You must have a good rest when you go back, Tilda. Even when the rewards were handed out one by one, the muscular King Kong Barbie gave each of them a word of condolence. I'm really touched. I didn't expect to be paid. At the end, it was the turn of the golden-haired mushroom head professor who stretched out his hands and waited happily for the reward. After taking a look, Tania immediately collected the last reward. A critical sentence came to the golden-haired mushroom head professor. Because your appearance is not good enough, this reward will not be given to you. Professor Kronos clicked, petrified on the spot, and his face turned green immediately. Ask for flowers. Unacceptably biting his own pink collar, almost tore through the clothes. If I win, will I become that muscular woman, leading the Amazons who are all muscular women and marry the one who beat her? She was the first to object to such a dark duel condition. If you have to choose one of sealing the soul, marrying, and leaving with the king of the descendants of the Amazon, those who think they are men among men take a step forward. At this time, Natania directly used the provocative method with a crooked smile and shouted. Jiang He looked at the other party's King Kong Barbie, and a drop of cold sweat could not help but appear on his forehead. He said again, then let's start in this arena, bet on the key of the 7-star gate and have a sacred duel in darkness. What kind of condition is that? Tianqingyun Asuka heard the words, and she was the first to frown and said dissatisfied. After waving Professor Kronos, who was full of sand sculpture attributes, to Jiang He and the others, the 7-star female dark duelist named Tania also looked at them. He can only say that in this world of duels, apart from playing cards, one still needs to look at faces after all. He always felt that it might be better to seal the soul. If you lose, you will join the Amazon family and get out of here with me. If you don't want to leave, just stay aside. I'm going to start a duel with the person who holds the key to the 7-star gate over there. Pfft. Jiang He couldn't hold back his laughter when he saw it for a moment and burst out laughing. I don't need to seal the soul as the price of losing the duel like others, but I have other dark duel conditions. That is, the one who can fight me can only be a man among men, super mamma mia. There are still situations where people are treated differently because of this kind of thing. And in this situation, even if you win, it's not easy to handle. If you say that, it seems that if I don't stand up with you, I won't be able to do it. The corners of Jiang He's mouth twitched, and he couldn't help complaining about what the Vajra Babatania aggressive general said. However, in advance, I have no interest in your conditions for a dark duel. He said that he really can't stand a muscular girl like King Kong Barbie. Especially in his impression, most of the dueling monster elves of the Amazon family are basically muscular female warriors similar to this Vajra Babatania. If that's the case, then let's put you behind and fight. Natania heard the words, and she was not ambiguous at all. Decisively planned to choose one as the opponent from Sans Daddy and 50, Wang Jingmu, who also stood up. The skin is more similar to our Amazon family, unlike the one with the hedgehog head which looks powerless. I choose you. Seeing the reason why Natania chose Sans Daddy as his opponent, Jiang He didn't know for a while. That guy Sans should be happy or cry. At this time, the expressions of Sans Daddy and Wang Jingmu are also full of pain. One seemed to be praised but was said to have dark skin, and the other was not selected by this muscular girl but was said to be a hedgehog with no strength. No matter how you think about it, you can't be happy. Report your name, my challenger. After Sans Daddy stood on the duel field far away from the opponent, Vajra Babatania asked immediately. Sans Daddy, the opportunity to duel with the 7-star dark duelist was forced to be given up due to despicable means. This time I can finally contribute. Sans Daddy immediately took out the card group and put it in the duel plate he wore when he came here. In order to wait for this day, I have prepared this deck for a long time. Let's let you have a good look at it. Sans is really full of energy. Jiang He couldn't help complaining. It's just that he always felt that even with Sans' fairly strong strength, he might not necessarily be the opponent of Vajra Barbie and Tania. After all, the Amazon deck also has a little bit of underworld. I really envy that guy Sans, but it's a pity that my key to the 7-star gate was wasted by Kamura before. Yucheng Judai grabbed his own hair and said while staring at the front with distressed up and down. Huh? Manjamu and Marutusho, Tenshingin Asuka, Junko, and Beihui looked at Yujo Judai in astonishment and stepped back tactically. They all had the same thought. Do you like women with heavy tastes like this style? Even Jiang He could see the corners of his mouth twitching. However, he felt that the hot-blooded idiot Yaocheng Shidai had a high probability of being completely addicted to cards. What I envy is also the fact that Sans daddy can duel with the 7-star dark duelist. As for women who like the style of Vajra Barbatania, Jiang He can only say that as a brand guy, this guy probably doesn't even know what the word marriage means. I have 2 decks here that are related to your future fate. One represents wisdom, and the other represents courage. At the same time, Tania over there has also raised her hands, with a card group spread out in one hand and gestured to Sans daddy. Come and choose which deck you want to face. Brute force is just a meaningless beast. Of course I choose to fight against the card group that represents wisdom, Sans daddy said immediately. Okay, let's get started. Tania neatly put the deck on her right hand into the dual disc she was wearing. Duel, duel. Tania and Sans daddy spoke at the same time, and a burst of red light suddenly lit up on the duel board, and it unfolded instantly. As the two drew 5 starting cards from their respective duel decks at the same time, 4,000 LP health points appeared beside them. Tania directly grabbed the initiative and drew cards from the top of the deck. After taking a look, she immediately placed the corner of her mouth on the dueling plate. I summon with an attack Amazon Swordsman. Drink. Following a burst of light, a muscular figure of a dark-skinned, purple-red-haired female warrior emerged with a long, curved sword. Drinking in a low voice full of power, he appeared on the field in front of Tania. Amazon Swordsman Star, 4 attribute ground, attack power 1500, defense power 1600. Sure enough, it's an Amazon monster with this effect from the underworld. Jiang He muttered when he saw this muscular female monster from the Amazon family, which was somewhat similar to Tania. Effect the monster of the underworld. Standing next to him, Tianqingin Asuka faintly heard the voice and couldn't help asking Jiang He curiously. The monster that can make this guy say the effect of the underworld, it means the Amazon 3. 6 Zun Swordsman, monster that Tania summoned, which she has never seen before. Should have a very tricky effect. Junzi and Beihui, as well as Yaocheng Judai and Wang Jingmu on the other side, couldn't help but look at Jiang He. They all waited curiously for him to tell. The effect of the Amazon Swordsman, the battle damage caused by this monster's battle, is all borne by the opponent. It is a typical Pengsai monster. Jiang He also didn't make any excuses and continued to look at the situation in the distance and said. He remembered that when he looked at the newly refreshed system exchange options just now, among the 3 decks, besides the Ju card draw deck, there also seems to be a hell-touching porcelain deck. Let the opponent replace the effect of receiving combat damage. Hearing what Jiang He said about the effect of the Amazon Swordsman, the corners of the mouths of Asuka, Wang Jingmu, and Yaocheng Shidai all twitched. Even the golden-haired mushroom-headed professor, who was still brooding over what was said to be ugly just now and cursing Tania in circles, had a drop of cold sweat on his face. The effect of this monster is indeed a bit dark. Porcelain seems to be quite an appropriate adjective, but soon they all thought of the same question. Why is Jiang He so familiar with the effect of this Amazon Swordsman monster that they haven't seen before? Tianqingyun Asuka and the others suddenly had weird expressions. Masaka. I didn't expect the little brother over there to be so familiar with the warriors of our Amazon clan. Sure enough, it would be better to bring you back to the clan. At this moment, Tania, the Vajra Barbie over there, obviously also heard what Jiang He said just now and said immediately. And with the voice 18 lines sandwiched, it changed into a rather feminine voice. It's just that when paired with the opponent's burly and muscular figure that can kill a tiger with one punch, it looks even more outrageous. Seeing that, Jiang He couldn't help shivering, almost popped out the catchphrase of Professor Golden Retriever Mushroom Head, Mamma Mia. He suddenly seriously suspected that this was a mental attack tactic adopted by the other party. Even the hot-blooded idiot Yaocheng Judai and Sans daddy, who were the opponents, all had sweaty expressions on their faces. The duel continues. I will then ambush a card and the round is over. With the sound of boom on the field in front of Tania, a huge ambush card figure emerged. The round ended quickly and conveniently. My turn, draw a card. Sans daddy quickly regained his strength, drawing cards from the top of the deck with a serious expression. After looking at the cards he had drawn as well as his own cards, he quickly figured out the best tactic for the current situation. I set and summon a monster in the face-side defense position and then ambush a card. The round is over. With two sounds of dong-dong, a monster card placed horizontally and an ambush card in the backfield suddenly appeared on the field in front of San's daddy. Ah, it turned out to be the seduction tactic of Gai Fang summoning monsters and then ambush cards. Yu Cheng Judai said in surprise. Isn't that similar to the tactics that Jiang He often uses? Sho Maruto said with some surprise. The others also had weird expressions and they all glanced at Jiang He, who was nodding in satisfaction with a childish expression. The same thought came to mind. It's just that compared to someone, the underworld duel method of starting with 4 cover word Kangkai. It can only be said that Sans currently has only one ambush card in the backcourt. It seems that the Yin Chi is still too thin. Looks too normal. That's right, this is the 7th deck I adjusted after learning the new duel ideas from the previous duel I lost to Jiang He. Sans daddy raised a hand confidently, clenched his fist and said, different from the previous water, fire, earth, scenery and darkness and other special purpose card groups corresponding to monster attributes, I named it Yin, which is as hard to know as Yin. Sans is indeed a rare cultural person in the big name world. Jiang He couldn't help but slander. Let's put the art of war here. However, judging from the elusive name, the underworld index of this card group is obviously not very high. Mainly play strategy and tactics. It's not about psychology and blood pressure like his underworld deck. Then let me see how hard it is to guess, dear Sans. My turn, draw card. Tania finished speaking in a strange tone with her voice intertwined, and immediately changed back to a rough, neutral female voice, drawing cards from her own dueling board deck. After adding the cards to her hand, she immediately took out a card and said, since you don't attack, then let me attack. Summon Amazon's pet tiger by attacking. Come on, Buzz, roar. After Tania slapped the card he took out on the duel board. The huge blue-eyed ferocious tiger that was not far away from her was suddenly moved to the field in front of her with a low growl in a burst of light. Amazon Pet Tiger Star, 4 Attribute, Ground, Attack Power, 1100 Defense Power, 1500. That tiger is indeed a dueling monster spirit like Camilla's vampire bat. Seeing this, Asuka of Tianqingyuan immediately said with a hint of expression. However, if the attack power is only 1100 points, even if it is a monster with 180 points as a test attack, the attack power is too low. Hayato said doubtfully, looking at the duel field in front of him. The special effect of the Amazon's pet tiger, every time there is a monster with the name Amazon on the field, its attack power will increase by 400 points. When Tania heard the voice, she immediately hummed and said with a smile. And on my field counting itself, there are 2 monsters with the name Amazon, so its attack power has increased by 800 points. Following Tania's words, the huge and ferocious blue-eyed tiger on the ground in front of it immediately increased its attack power from 1100 points to 1900 points bit by bit. Nanny. Sans daddy was startled when he saw this. In this regard, Jiang He was not surprised at all. He even knew that this Amazon pet tiger had other troublesome effects. Come on, Bass, attack the set monster and see what traps exist. Tania immediately raised her hand and gave an order. Roar. As her words fell, the Amazon pet tiger roared immediately and jumped towards the huge monster card Shadow on the field in front of Sans daddy. Let me tell you why this deck is called difficult to know like Yin. On the field in front of Amazon pet tiger, attacking Sans daddy, the monster card placed horizontally was instantly reflected. The huge shadow of the card immediately flipped over automatically following the attack. In a flash of light, a small red spherical bomb-shaped monster with 5 claws emerged. It flew out like a trap set and was clamped on the Amazon pet tiger's neck. Sphere Time Bomb Star, 4 Attribute Dark, Attack Power 1400, Defense Power 1400, Nanny. The Vajrababatania was also surprised immediately. I didn't expect that Sans daddy built such a monster. The special effect of the Sphere Time Limited Bomb, when this monster in defensive position is attacked by the opponent's monster, it becomes the equipment card of the opponent's monster. Sans daddy immediately said with a confident smile. And in the preparation phase of your next turn, destroy the monster equipped with it, and give you damage equal to the attack power of the destroyed monster. In this way, when the Amazon pet tiger, with 1900 attack power is destroyed in the next round, it will be able to deal a full 1900 points of damage to the opponent. Wang Jingmu immediately applauded Sans daddy with an excited expression. Although it's a pity that it wasn't installed on the Amazon swordsman, but it is indeed a very good seduction tactic, dear Sans. Jiang He also nodded and praised. In this way, it can not only destroy the opponent's monster with other troublesome effects, but also inflict nearly half of the life value of that King Kong Babatania in damage. By the way, he also used the weird title that Vajra Babatania just used and made a wave of Misawa Daddy's mentality. Nice job, Misawa-san, Yu Cheng Judai immediately praised with a thumbs up. Just got it, dear Misawa, Maruto Sho echoed and cheered. The veins on San's daddy's forehead throbbed for a while and a hashtag appeared. He wanted to ask a question. What kind of teammate is this, making him more diligent than his opponent? Although the monster you summoned is a bit unexpected, it's still within the range I can accept. Tania hummed and laughed and said without any worries the battle continues. There is still a monster on my field that hasn't attacked yet. Amazon swordsman attacked directly, Sword of Rage. Following her signal, the female Amazonian swordsman who was also of the Vajra Barbie type immediately rushed forward and slashed at the land of sands with flames. Too naive. Open the ambush card, trap magic tube. When the opponent's monster attacks, make that attack invalid and inflict damage equal to the attack power of the opponent's monster. Seeing the Amazon swordsman attacking, Sans daddy suddenly calculated and waved to the only ambush card on the field in front of him. As the trap was lifted, a pattern with 2 purple-red magic tubes was revealed, and 2 actual magic tubes emerged from it. One of them absorbed all the flame energy from the Amazon swordswoman's curved blade weapon. On the other side of the magic tube, the same flame energy immediately lit up, instantly reflected to the purple-red-haired Vajra Barbie Tania on the opposite duel field. It turned into a flame energy blade and slashed at the opponent's body. All of a sudden, that Vajra Babatania groaned in pain. Outside the clear blue-gray clothes in front of him, there was a burnt blade mark on the exposed muscles. And her original health value of 4,000 LP was also reduced by 1,500 LP bit by bit and became 2,500 LP. That sun god Huang San seems to have learned a little bit from someone. Tianqing Asuka and her 2 companions, Junko Beihui and others, suddenly showed the same weird expression. Yao Cheng Judai, Wang Jingmu and Professor Kronos were also stunned and had similar thoughts. But soon I felt it again. At least compared to Jiang He poor boy's deck, San's deck should still be within the range of a normal deck. Moreover, the double coordination of the monster and the trap is also quite beautiful. But soon they heard Jiang He sighed with a look of resentment. Sans, it's really too simple and honest, missing a little healing talent and positive energy. Jiang He said that just now, Sans is a trap that ambushes 1 more card, which in turn increases the attack power of the opponent's monsters. Isn't the damage of this trap magic tube directly full? If we go 1 step further and cooperate with the previous one, Sans used the trap, destroying the wheel factory. The previous monster, Heianyu Zhao, inflicts damage equal to the attack power of both parties. Wouldn't it be possible to clear the health of Vajra Babatania on the opposite side to 0 in minutes? Like to mention dozens of Amazonian King Kong Barbie muscular girls. Hearing Jiang He shook his head and sighed, Zhu hated iron but steel. Yao Cheng Shidai, Wang Jingmu and Professor Jin Maogutu were all stunned when they heard it. I really want to say something to him. Sure enough, you are still in the underworld. Is this what normal people can think of to construct and operate the card group? Even Sans daddy, who was in the duel, was dumbfounded, and then suddenly regretted that he didn't ask Jiang He for advice before adjusting the thinking of this difficult-to-know yin-like deck. But now that he is in the dark duel, he can only continue to follow his own tactics. Amazon female swordsman is indeed a monster with quite troublesome effects, but as long as you use various traps reasonably, you can avoid it cleverly. Misawa Daicha continued to speak to Tania, who was his duel opponent. In this way, when it's your next turn, your health will be depleted. As expected of Sans Pro, although compared with the little brother over there, it seems to be a little worse. Tania finished the first half of the sentence with a strange female voice between her voice lines, then immediately changed back to a rough female voice and glanced at Jiang He, who was watching the battle behind. Then, I will ambush another card and the round ends. With the sound of boom, another ambush card appeared on the field in front of Tania and it became 2. Then the round ended immediately. Don't call me that weird name, my turn, draw a card. Sans daddy immediately retorted and then drew cards from the dueling deck with a serious face. After taking a look, he immediately continued to implement his own established tactics. Activate the ritual magic card from the hand, Litmus Death Ritual. Sans daddy activates the card that was just drawn 340 directly. Boom! A ritual altar with electromagnetic flickering suddenly rose up on the field in front of him. It's actually ritual magic. Are you planning to summon a ritual monster? Tania suddenly said with a little surprise. After all, in the entire dueling world, people who use ritual magic decks are rare. Several people including Wang Jingmu and San's daddy were also surprised. So far, they have basically only seen someone use ritual magic for the first time in the duel between Jiang He and that Kimura. This is the last step for me to defeat you. The effect of this ritual magic is to liberate monsters with a total level of 8 stars or more from your hand and field and send them to the graveyard. Can be ritually special summoned from the hand Litmus Sword of Death. As San said, he signaled 2 monsters out of the remaining 4 cards in his hand. I choose to send these 2 4-star monsters Hydrogen Dragon in my hand to the graveyard. Attacking Bayaj means summoning Litmus Death Swordsman. As San's daddy's voice fell, the 2 monster cards indicated in his hand suddenly shimmered in a flash of light. It turned into 2 familiar monsters like brown mud dragons and emerged from the ritual altar. Immediately, under the shroud of the beam of light rising from the altar, in a blink of an eye, there was a silhouette of a swordsman monster wearing a white dress and a red cloak, holding the double knives of Bararui. The one that descended from midair appeared on the field in front of him. Litmus, Swordsman of Death Star, 8 Attribute Dark, Attack Power 0 Defense Power 0 What Misuwasama summoned was actually a monster with 0 attack power. Yujo Judai and Marutu Sho suddenly asked the question of the scumbags. The poor students of Osirix read, 4 poor students. Hearing this, the golden-haired, mushroom-headed professor immediately wagged a finger and wanted to give an explanation with a pompous face. But when he was halfway through speaking, seeing Jiang He's raised eyebrows and looking over, a burst of cold sweat broke out on his face, and he quickly changed his words a little, excluding Jiang He. Just referring to Yujo Judai, Maruto Sho, Hayato, and Manjamu, who is also Osiris Red, continued. Let me, Professor Kronos, come to give you this extra classroom theoretical knowledge tutoring now. Litmus Death Swordsman as a ritual monster that is troublesome to summon, it naturally has a powerful effect. This monster is not only immune to trap effects, but also cannot be destroyed by battles. And when there is a trap card on the field, its attack power and defense power will become 3,000 points, Professor Kronos boasted proudly. It is an existence that is only slightly worse than my ace monster, the ancient mechanical giant. The opponent is not only unaffected by the trap effect, but also has an effect that cannot be destroyed by the battle. With the same attack power, no matter how you look at it, it can't be worse than your ancient mechanical giant, right? Chrono's expression froze for a moment. Tania snorted without any worries and drew cards from her own deck. And after destroying, special summon the same number of monsters with the name Amazon below 4 stars that exist in your own graveyard in defense position. Then reluctantly retorted, that's also when there are traps that are activated on the field. In other words, that ambush card is like a permanent trap, which means that it can always exist on the field after activation. Put the last card in his hand on his own duel board. But soon, without Jiang He needing to pierce it, Wan Zhangmu immediately slashed the golden-haired mushroom head and said, without waiting for San's daddy and other people watching the battle to guess what she was going to do, they saw that Vajrababatania had already waved her hand unintentionally to the 2 cards on the field in front of her. Then I will ambush another card and the round ends, Tania said with a smile. Before worrying about the damage that Litmus Death Swordsman will do to you, you should first worry about the threat of Sphere Time Bomb that you will face in the preparation stage of your turn. HMPH, do you think your plan can be achieved? It's my turn, draw a card. I've considered this issue a long time ago, San's daddy said with a confident smile when he heard the words. Before the effect of Sphere Time Bomb takes effect, open the ambush card and trap Amazon Reincarnation. The effect of this card destroys all face-up monsters with the name Amazon on your field. San's daddy immediately clenched his fist and said. Tania immediately saw through the doorway and said, Nanny. In other words, after destroying these 2 monsters on the field, can they be summoned back from the graveyard? Hearing the effect Tania said, San's daddy said in shock, this situation was completely beyond his tactical expectations. That's right. In this way, as the Sphere Time Bomb clamped on the Amazon Pet Tiger, it will be sent to the cemetery along with the equipment monster Amazon Pet Tiger being destroyed, and it will be invalidated when it is destroyed together. The Vajrabarbatania snorted and said with a clenched fist triumphantly, get out of the restriction and reincarnate, Bass Amazon Swordsman. As her voice fell, the huge blue-eyed fierce tiger figure on the field in front of Natania and the muscular Amazon female swordsman Tilda figure. Immediately, amidst a burst of light particles that disappeared from below, they gradually scattered upward, disappeared without a trace. Together with the 5 hook claws clamped on the Amazon Pet Tiger's neck, the red sphere bomb monster that was about to explode also disappeared together. Then in a twinkling of an eye under two twilight rays, the huge blue-eyed, one-eyed ferocious tiger monster figure and the burly Amazon female swordsman figure were resurrected again and emerged. I didn't expect that Tanya would have such a trick. Seeing this, Asuka of the Heavenly Courtyard immediately said that she paid a lot of attention to the Vajra Barbie female dark duelist. She originally thought that the opponent was only physically stronger, but his duel strength was average. After all, in the past, they were all calculated by that Sans daddy, and they were easily suppressed. Unexpectedly, in the opponent's third round, there was a turning point. Let me continue to tell you how powerful the Amazons are. Tanya said as she slapped a card from her hand on her own dueling board. I summoned by attacking the second Amazon swordsman. Drink. Following a burst of light, a burly Amazonian female swordsman figure suddenly appeared with the same purplish-red hair. With a low drink, he appeared on the field in front of Vajra Barbatania. Start the battle. The first Amazon swordsman attacks Litmus Death Swordsman, the Sword of Rage, with her wave of the order. The first purple-red-haired Amazon female swordsman on the field in front of her suddenly raised the curved blade long sword, and the fire energy emerged and leaped to slash at the dead swordsman of Litmus. Open the ambush card, a permanent trap soul. Seeing this, Sans daddy gritted his teeth and hesitated for a moment, then immediately raised his hand to signal the only ambush card on the field in front of him. The trap was opened, and a pattern with a brown energy barrier appeared immediately. As the light shines, the same brown energy barrier directly manifests from it. Protect around the body of Sans daddy. The effect of this card, as long as there are monsters on my field, then the battle damage caused to me by battle becomes 0. This is indeed a good cooperation. Seeing the trap launched by Sans daddy, Jiang He couldn't help but shook his head and said, Litmus Death Swordsman has an effect that cannot be destroyed by combat and is not affected by trap effects. Combined with the continuous trap soul barrier, it can reduce the combat damage to 0. It can almost achieve the effect of semi-absolute defense. But unfortunately, facing porcelain-touching monsters like Amazon female swordsmen with underworld effects, there is a little defense gap. HMPH, but with the traps that are activated on the field, the attack power of your Litmus Death Swordsman will also become 3,000 points. Hearing Sans daddy's words, Tanya took the initiative to remind with a smile. Immediately facing the Amazon swordsman, who was attacking Litmus Death Swordsman, immediately raised his two swords to fight back, and directly smashed the opponent easily, destroying it into an explosion of fire and smoke. Ask for flowers. If Litmus Death Swordsman still has 0 attack power, then Tanya's Amazon Swordsman, even with an attack power of 1,500 points, surpasses Litmus Death Swordsman. However, the aftermath of fire and smoke from the explosion did not go in the direction of Tanya, but directly hit the Sans land protected by the brown energy barrier. His original 4,000 LP full life value was also reduced by 1,500 points and became 2,500 LP. However, under the protection of the permanent trap soul barrier and the effect of 0 combat damage, Sans can also be protected from damage. The combat damage that the other party had to bear was also directly borne by Sans on his behalf. Litmus's Swordsman of Death, after getting the self-enhancing effect of opening the trap and becoming 3,000 points of attack power, it actually caused danger to Sans instead. Moreover, there is still one such monster on the opponent's field at this time. Immediately, Sans subconsciously raised his hand to resist and groaned in pain. Although it destroyed an Amazon swordsman that Tanya was actively attacking, it was because of the special effect of this monster. Yucheng Judai also said with some seriousness, the attack power has risen to 3,000 points. In the dignified expression of Sans daddy gritting his teeth, Tanya immediately smiled and raised his hand again to signal. Following her words, the Litmus Swordsman of Death on the field in front of Sans daddy immediately absorbed the experience brought to him by the soul barrier trap on the pair of scimitars in his hand. But now Litmus Death Swordsman, attack power becomes 3,000. The second Amazon Swordsman continued to attack Litmus Death Swordsman. Take the damage for me again, Misuwa Daji. Drink. Following the command of Vajra Barbatania, the second Amazon Swordsman on the field in front of her immediately gave a low shout. The impact of flames ignited on the curved blade longsword, slashed at the Litmus's Swordsman of Death, with a full attack power of 3,000 on the field in front of Sans daddy. In a blink of an eye, it was easily destroyed by the double scimitars in the hands of the Litmus Death Swordsman again, and exploded into a ball of fire and smoke. And bearing the fire and smoke aftermath of the explosion on behalf of him also made Sans daddy groan in pain again. Originally, the life value has become 2,500 LP, and the difference in the attack power of the monsters on both sides has been reduced by 1,500, leaving only 1,000 LP. Although it's quite dangerous with only 1,000 LP of life left, Sans finally made it through, and there is still hope of winning. Professor Kronos couldn't help but wiped off the cold sweat for Daddy Sans and said with a sigh of relief. Yujo Judai, Manjamu, Marutu Sho, and the others also breathed a sigh of relief. Now the HP of both parties is 2,500 LP vs 1,000 LP. Although Sans is far behind, at least there is still a powerful monster Boo's Death Swordsman with 3,000 attack power on the field. As long as the permanent trap soul barrier is not destroyed, then at the beginning of the next round, the health of the 7-star muscular female dark duelist Tania can be gradually reduced to win. I'm afraid the situation is not so optimistic. Sans may have already lost. Regarding the optimistic words of Professor Jin Maogutu and the others, Jiang He shook his head and denied it. Oh, why do you say that? Asuka of the Heavenly Academy, Professor Kronos, Wan Zhangmu and others all looked at him in surprise with puzzled expressions on their faces. The opponent still has an ambush card on the field. If they are not absolutely sure, they will definitely not use this suicide attack easily. Jiang He spread his hands and said, HMPH, the little brother over there is really stronger. Hearing the voices of Jiang He and the others on the far side of the duel field, the Vajrababatania immediately snorted and raised her hand to signal to her that there was the last Kunyu card left on the field in front of her. Open the ambush card and continue to trap the voice of life and death. As the ambush trap card was opened, a dark pattern with many tombstones was revealed immediately. The effect of this card special summons a monster from the graveyard. Resurrect Amazon Swordsman. Drink. As Tania raised the dueling disc worn on her muscular left wrist, a golden beam of light flew out from the graveyard above. On the field in front of her, a quite familiar figure of purple-red-haired, burly and muscular female warrior reappeared. The one with the curved sword reappeared there. Nanny, Daddy Sans was startled. During the battle phase, the monsters specially summoned by traps can still continue to attack. If this Amazon Swordsman attacks Litmus Death Swordsman again, oh no. Judai, Manjamu, and Maruto's expressions suddenly changed, and they clearly realized that something was wrong. Sans has no cards in hand at this time, and there are no other ambush cards at all. It is obviously impossible to resist anymore. Then I will accept the first race of our Amazon family. Tania smiled crookedly, waved her finger at the Litmus Swordsman of Death on the Sans Daddy field, and signaled with an order. Amazon Swordsman, attack Swordsman of Litmus's Death again, give Sansakin a final blow. Sans Daddy suddenly all thoughts are lost. There is only one last thought left in his mind. He is a good young man. He will be arrested and sent to a place full of such horrible muscular women. Drink. In the next second, the purplish red-haired Amazon female swordsman who took the initiative to attack was easily destroyed by the double scimitar in the hands of Litmus Death Swordsman again. The flame aftermath of the explosion will immediately be affected by the special effect of Amazon Swordsman. As for Sans Daddy, who took the battle damage on his behalf, the last 1,000 LP health value will be completely cleared by Diddy. And after Sans Daddy groaned in pain again because he couldn't bear the power, he half-kneeled and passed out and fell to the ground. Misawa. Yao Cheng Judai, Wang Jingmu, and Professor Kronos were all shocked, and they couldn't help but speak out. But before you waited for the 10 generations of Yu Cheng and Wang Jingmu, someone went to help the land of Sans. Bass. The Vajrababatania yelled directly, and let the huge blue-eyed one-eyed tiger easily snatch Sans Daddy in his mouth. And the key to the 7-star gate hanging in front of Sans Daddy also fell directly into the other party's hands and disappeared into a burst of twilight. Jiang He vaguely saw, after losing this dark duel on the face of that B*** D Sans Daddy, it seems that 2 automatic 9 lines appeared vaguely, paint texture similar to that of the Amazons on Tania's face. Guys, is this someone who has been temporarily turned into an Amazon family? Jiang He couldn't help but slandered in his heart. Crackle. The spherical chestnut ball standing on his shoulders suddenly called out a reminder. That your companion, it seems that because he lost the dark duel, he was temporarily turned into an elf by the duel monster. The voice of Isis, the young lady guarding the tomb, also sounded out of nowhere beside Jiang He. If it is delayed for too long, it is very likely that it will not come back. Because of the spiritual power of the red dragon, with the seal of the red dragon and the seal of the dragon heart, it is not difficult for Jiang He to perceive the state of Sans Daddy at this time. Somewhat similar to the situation where his vampire maid Kamura was sealed in the card of darkness. If you don't care about this, Sans will be taken into the world of dueling monsters and elves, where the Amazons are located, by that Vajrabarbatania in a matter of minutes. Who is the next? At this time, the monster figure on the field in front of the muscular Tania disappeared and changed back to the appearance before the duel. Then she looked directly at Jiang He and the others again and said with a smile with the victorious momentum, "Whether it's the hedgehog head or the little brother over there, let me come here. I, the king of the descendants of the Amazons, Tania, will bring them back to the clan and bite into our Amazon clan. Just as the last descendant king of the clan, we also need more male companions who can show our status." Hearing the words of Vajrabarbatania, the corners of Jiang He's mouth twitched. Cooperating with this muscular girl, she also plans to have polyandry. This made Jiang He want to complain a little bit. Even in the world of dueling monsters and elves, he should talk about the basic law to some extent. But it suddenly occurred to him that in the world of dueling monsters and elves over there, it seems that there are really no regulations in the real world of dueling. That's what's going on. Dark duel, give me a good dark duel. Don't get involved with that weird condition. And hearing some key words in it, Asuka Tianqingin also uttered annoyedly and shouted to Tania. Suddenly, a very strong aura burst out from her body. On the other side, Yujo Judai, Manjamu, Marutu Sho, and others. They were all so frightened that their faces were covered with cold sweat, and they hugged themselves subconsciously as if they were frozen by this momentum. The seniors of the Heavenly Academy suddenly had such a strong momentum. Should it be called the Obelisk Blue Women's Dormitory, the Queen of Icebergs? HMPH, the little blonde girl over there looks quite tall. It seems that there is a man you care about here. Are you trying to compete for a man with me, the last king of the Amazon family? Tanya was stunned for a moment when she heard the words, and soon saw through the reason for Asuka's sudden anger and said with a snort, compete for men. As soon as she said this, Asuka froze when asked. Especially after realizing that Jiang He, Professor Kronos, and Junko Beihui looked at her strangely at the same time. What's more, it made her face a little flushed, and she didn't know how to respond to these words. Compared to Tania, the muscular girl opposite, she doesn't know what being reserved and shy is, and she even plans to catch a few more men as human races or something. She can't do this at all. Even if she had to take the initiative to speak first, at least it should be done when no one else was present. What strange nonsense are you talking about? Tenshingen Asuka could only retort reluctantly in the end. Then she immediately changed the subject and took the initiative to invite the battle. If you want to continue the dark duel, this time I will be your opponent. But this time, even a passionate idiot like Yujo Judai and Sho Maruto. It can be seen that Asuka Tianqingyun's words just now seem a little insincere. Seniors of the Heavenly Academy, there is actually someone you like, Sho Maruto and Hayato said in surprise. Could it be that guy Jiang He? Wan Zhangmu suddenly looked as if he had thought of something and guessed in a low voice in a daze. I also seem to have vaguely noticed just now, after hearing the other party's words, the senior in the Heavenly Court subconsciously glanced in the direction of Jiang He. After all, if you continue to delay for too long, the goods will not come back. Seeing this situation, Jiang He also shook his head and walked out of several people and said. Soon, they all finally noticed the existence of the strange texture on the face of Sans daddy, who was still in a coma after being picked up by the ferocious blue-eyed tiger, and placed on the ground beside Tania. There is at least one Osiris Red Hayato who is as despised as he is. Both Hayato and Professor Kronos turned black and fell into silence. Although you also have the key to the 7-star gate in my selection of dual targets, you who are also a woman are at the bottom. Of course, that fat man who looks like a koala and 797's bad-looking man with a golden mushroom head are completely excluded. Can't Sans come back? Hearing his words, Asuka Tenshingen, who was hesitant to speak, and Wan Jingmu and Yaocheng Judai, who wanted to compete for the opportunity of this dangerous dark duel, couldn't help it. They all froze for a moment. At the end of Tania's speech, she suddenly added another sentence. Tania pointed to Yujo Judai and the small Maruto Sho. They obviously didn't say a word, so they are lying on the ground. As for Asuka's invitation to fight, the muscular girl Tania directly and decisively refused. But this time, Professor Kronos felt a lot of comfort. Even those two brats over there who don't have the key to the 7-star gate, but who are barely acceptable in appearance, should be ranked ahead of you in the challenge order of the duel. Seeing Jiang He was a little surprised. Sho Maruto, this little unlucky guy, is small in size, almost half the height of the burly Vajrabarbatania if he is captured by the other party. He couldn't even imagine the scene. Since you have said so, let me deal with you this time. The appearance of that texture, does it mean that Sans has now become the Amazon family of the world of dueling monsters and elves? Seeing the texture on Sans' daddy's face and the words he had contacted Jiang He just now, Yao Cheng Judai suddenly guessed something and said in surprise, "Isn't that temporarily turning into a dueling monster spirit?" Asuka Tianqingyuan also understood immediately in surprise. "I said that the dark duel with you does not need to seal the soul, but the final situation, isn't it somewhat similar?" Wang Jingmu directly questioned Tania on the other side of the duel field. After all, generally speaking, dual monster spirits cannot be materialized in the real world here, unless you use dark props or your own strength is strong to a certain extent. Otherwise, they could only live in the world where dueling monster elves lived for the rest of their lives. It's just living in another world, compared with being completely sealed in the card of darkness, being bound by chains and never being able to come out. This is so much better. The Vajra Barbatania raised her hand and said without feeling it at all. "Besides, since you are a member of the Amazon family, then of course you have to go to our original world. That is to say, you are a dueling monster spirit, materialized by means of dark props." Junko Beihui, the two followers of Asuka in Tianqingyuan, also understood what she said. Everyone else noticed that one of Tania's hands was wearing a pitch-black metal glove. On the palm of the black glove, there is a golden metal eye like other dark props. Obviously, that should be the dark item owned by Tania as one of the dark duelists of the 7-star force. Although the actual situation is a little more complicated than this, it is almost like this. "This is my dark tool, the dark magic hand W." Tania didn't shy away from snorting, raised the hand with the sharp black glove and said, "Then, little brother over there, hurry up and start our duel. From the 2 decks in my hand that represent courage and wisdom, choose the fate you want to face." Tania took out the cards of the 2 sets of cards again and raised her hand, smiling confidently to signal Sijiangta. "No, it's up to you to choose instead of me," Jiang He said calmly and also took out 2 decks, gesturing to Vajra Barbatania in the distance opposite. "Here I also have 2 new decks that I plan to try out. One represents healing, and the other represents smile. Which fate will you choose?" These 2 decks were naturally exactly the Amazon swordsman he had summoned when he was dueling with the opponent in the land of Sans just now. From the exchange options that the system just refreshed not long ago, the 2 underworld decks that were exchanged were considered from the very beginning. 500 emotional value, Jih draw card group, and 1500 emotional value, Phantom Amazon card group. The former is enough to achieve a one-hit kill so that the opponent has almost no experience in the first round and the battle is over. Only I can play duel, JPG and the latter. Then he will slowly teach the other party how to touch porcelain in the real world, how to touch it. Interesting choice, since the little brother over there also took out 2 decks, then this time let me make the choice. After being surprised for a moment, Tania quickly used that very feminine voice with her voice intertwined and said strangely, "It seems that Jiang He almost increased the options of the underworld deck to 8 for the opponent. Among the netherworld decks he already has, those decks that are more suitable for dealing with the opponent, so that Tania has to keep his rough voice and happily scream are also counted. Then, I'll choose the one that represents the smile." Tania suddenly changed back to her original rough female voice and said with a smile. Only those who knew someone well, such as Tianqingyuan Asuka, Yujo Judai and Wang Jingmu, all had strange expressions and complained in their hearts at this time. One for healing, one for smile. "I believe you. I'm afraid that those 2 decks are quite the type of hell." But they didn't expect that Jiang He would actually come up with 2 new decks this time. It seems that compared to before, the output efficiency of the underworld card group is even more outrageous. I just don't know what the so-called smile deck will be chosen by that muscular female 7-star dark duelist. Tianqingyuan Asuka, Yao Cheng Judai and Wang Jingmu all looked forward to it with some curiosity. Keep a close eye on the situation on the other side of the duel field ahead. Since you chose this smile deck, let's take your time to duel. Seeing Tania's choice, Jiang He smiled and gradually brightened up and put the deck on his right hand into the dueling disc on his left wrist. "But I don't plan to slow down here because got it, Tania, I can't wait to bring you back, little brother." That Vajra Babatania turned into a little woman's voice with a voice line between her voices, matching her burly muscular figure. The level of weirdness is full again. Immediately afterwards, she changed the card group in her left hand that she hadn't used before to her own duel board, and her voice was rough again. "Let me use this power deck which represents courage to make quick decisions and resolve the battle quickly. Duel, duel." As Jiang He and Tania spoke at the same time, the duel discs worn by the 2 immediately lit up red and spread out. Both sides also drew out 5 starting cards from their respective hands, and at the same time 4,000 LP health points appeared. The atmosphere became tense in an instant. My first attack, draw a card. The Vajra Barbatania once again directly grabbed the first strike and raised her hand to draw cards from the top of her dueling deck. After taking a look, the corners of her mouth curled up immediately and she said to Jiang He, "Let me show you this courage deck, the power of quick battles. Activate the quick attack magic Amazon's call from the hand card." Tania immediately gestured for the drawn card. On the field in front of her, a figure of an Amazon female warrior with a barbaric dress appeared, standing on a tree trunk and calling out a magic card with a pattern. The effect of this card is to add any card with Amazon in the name from the deck to the hand or discard it to the graveyard. I choose to send one Amazon swordsman in the deck to the graveyard. As Tania's voice fell, a burst of orange light flashed from the dueling plate deck she lifted up. There was an Amazon swordsman, which was removed from the deck and sent to the duel disc graveyard. You actually took the initiative to send one Amazon swordsman in the deck to the cemetery. Asuka and Wanjingmu, who were watching the battle not far away from 137, all changed their expressions immediately. Something came to mind. Could it be that the other party has a card with the effect of resurrecting monsters from the graveyard? Professor Kronos directly conjectured. That's right, activate the magic card from your hand, Resurrection of the Dead. Tania snorted triumphantly and took out another card from her hand to activate it. With the effect of this card, you can select a monster from the graveyard and special summon it. I chose, of course, the only Amazon swordsman in my own cemetery. Drink. As Tania raised the dueling disc worn on her left wrist again, an orange beam of light flew out from her dueling disc graveyard. Landing on the field in front of her, it turned into the familiar silhouette of a 1500 attack power Amazon female swordsman with purple-red hair and a long curved sword. First special summon a monster, and then perform a normal summon. It seems that we want to summon a powerful enough scene in the first round. Jiang He also saw the opponent's plan at once, but after taking a look at his own cards, he immediately continued to watch the opponent's performance calmly. Seeing my ace monster, there is no reaction at all. It seems that I need to let you feel more pressure first, the Vajra Barbatania said with a smile and immediately slapped a card on her own dueling board. Then, I summon by attack Amazon Crusade. Ha. With a flash of light, a blonde-haired Amazon female warrior wearing a tattered white cloth cloak and holding a long sword suddenly appeared. He also appeared on the field in front of Tania with a low drink. Amazon Holy Warrior Star, 4, Attribute, Ground X 1700 Defense, 300. The special effect of the Amazon Holy Warrior, every time there is a monster with the name Amazon on the field, her attack power will increase by 100 points. With Tania's words. On the field in front of her, the black-skinned, blonde-haired Amazon female warrior whose figure unexpectedly looks like a normal person's attack power, Diddy also rose by 200 in one fell swoop, turning into 1900 points. Then ambush 2 cards again and the Bayab combination is over. Dong 2 huge ambush card shadows appeared on the opposite field. This scene was not far away. Yujo Judai and Maruto Sho, who were watching the battle, felt a little stressed and worried. A monster with high attack power was actually summoned in one round, and there was also an Amazon swordsman with a tricky effect. Jiang He also draws cards from his dual board deck, such as starting cards. And monsters with high attack power will become living targets for the opponent to touch porcelain, turning into a situation like Sansheng. Jiang He said with a smile on his face. Activate the magic card Fixed Tone from the hand. Monsters with similar attack power may need to face the trap of resurrected monsters even after destroying the opponent. It's just that the monsters summoned by this effect will be destroyed at the end of the round. After they put themselves into Jiang He's position and thought about how to deal with Tania's situation at this time, they immediately discovered some dilemmas. Jiang He, did he really take out a magic card that he had never seen before? A magic card with a pattern of spiral rhythm symbols suddenly appeared on the field in front of him. Then, without looking at it, he directly took out a card from his hand and put it on the dueling plate. Including Tania, who is the opposite opponent in the duel, also watched how Jiang He could deal with her calmly. Since you've finished your performance, it's my turn to draw a card. Tianqingyun Asuka, Wanjingmu, Professor Kronos and others were all staring at Jiang He's next move. And there are 2 obviously very tricky ambush cards. This scene is really very oppressive. Not only the muscular woman Tania, who is the dual opponent on the opposite side, looked stunned, but even Asuka, Professor Kronos and others watching the battle looked curious. Fixed tone, I just don't know what deck Jiang He will be using this time. The effect of this card, when there are no monsters on your field, you can send the 2 fusion materials required by the fusion monster with the name Phantom from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and then send that fusion monster special summon. I chose to send the 8-star monster Phantom Music Girl Magat the Genius, and the 4-star normal monster Phantom Music Girl Tang Tang in the deck to the graveyard, as Jiang He pointed out the 2 monster cards in the deck. Immediately, there was a monster figure of an aristocratic female singer in a red dress with transparent wings of a goblin, and a monster figure of a little girl in a green dress holding a baton, and phantoms appeared in front of him. In a blink of an eye, he jumped into the fusion vortex of red, blue, and green colors that appeared in the sky, twisting and merging together. The Supreme Genius followed the trajectory of the baton and merged into one, bringing the Song of Victory to the battlefield fused with special summons, Phantom Huage Saint Flower Deva. Following Jiang He's pretentious summoning lines, a ray of light suddenly lit up from the fusion vortex above. A wrapped flower emerged from it, slowly blooming, revealing a silver-haired, indifferent, lowly figure. And the blooming flowers also fell down, completely revealing their true appearance, which was the pink singing dress she was wearing. Finally landed on the field in front of Jiang He, Phantasmagoric Huage Sheng Diva of Flowers. Star 6 Attribute, Light, 1000, Defense Power 2000. Okay, what a gorgeous debut. Yujo Judai Manjamu Marutu Sho and the others all set out in a daze. What puzzled them most was that what Jiang He used this time was not the lava demon god or the sneaky bird which looked like hell monsters. Instead, it looks very gorgeous and cute. Cute is cute, but if you only have 1000 attack power, you can't deal with Amazon Swordsman and Amazon Holy Warrior on Tania's field at all, right? Tianxingyun Asuka said with some doubts, unless that monster has other special effects. No matter how many petite monsters there are, they can't match the strength of our Amazon warriors. On the far side, Tania immediately said to Jiang He indifferently, if it's really just a simple weak monster with 1000 attack power, why would it need to use an 8-star monster as a fusion material to summon it so troublesomely? Jiang He responded with a sunny smile instead. The special effect of Phantasm of Huage Sheng Diva of Flowers. This card will not be destroyed by battle effects, and the battles she conducts, the battle damage to me is 0. Nanny, can't be destroyed and the battle damage is 0. Tania was shocked when she heard this. In this way, her Amazon Swordsman can threaten low attack power monsters, but also can hit the tricky effect of high attack power monsters. Could it be that he was completely restrained by that weak-looking monster? What a powerful special effect. Asuka and Professor Kronos of the Heavenly Academy also showed expressions of surprise. This is even stronger than the Litmus's Swordsman of Death that Sans summoned just now, and since this monster cannot be destroyed by battle effects, isn't that? Asuka and the others watching the battle, including Tania as the opponent, also suddenly thought of something in surprise. Just now, in order to summon this monster, Jiang He activated the magic card Fixed Sound. Originally, at the end of the round, it is necessary to destroy the negative effect of the fusion monster specially summoned by this effect. Wouldn't it also be completely evaded by this weak-looking monster Phantom Huage Sheng Flower Deva? Have you found it, but it's not over yet. Seeing Tania's surprised expression, Jiang He smiled and raised the dueling disc worn on his left wrist, and a flash of light suddenly lit up from the cemetery above, continued to speak. Then activate the special effect of Phantom Music Girl Tang Tang, sent from the deck to the graveyard as a fusion material just now in the graveyard. When she is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material, you can choose a monster named Phantom on your field, reduce its attack power by 500 points, and deal 500 LP damage to the opponent. How is it possible to actually reduce the attack power of my own monster? Tania said suddenly in surprise, as the latter's attack power drops by 500 points after becoming 500 attack power. From the silver-haired lowly in a grand dress and the phantasmagoric Huage Sheng Huajai Deva, a force was extracted. Instead, Jiang He showed a sunny smile and waved directly, ordering, P.S. The picture shows the Huaji Sheng Huajai Huading. In the next second, as Jiang He's voice fell, a phantom of a little girl in a green dress with a baton appeared in flashes from the graveyard of his duel disc. Although it caused me 500 LP damage that was not painful and also summoned a troublesome monster, but in this way your turn should be over, right? After all, no matter how tricky a monster with 500 attack power is, it is impossible to pose any threat to her. Even Yao Cheng Judai, Wang Jingmu, Professor Kronos, and others think so. And Tania's original 4,000 LP health value also dropped by 500 LP and became 3,500 LP. With an instant hey, it was thrown to the muscular woman Tanya in the distance of the duel venue. Is it possible to be so willful with an effect that cannot be destroyed? There were some burn marks on her arm, Sol Vidoka. JPG on her own baton, a green light cluster energy bomb was formed. The green energy light bombarded firmly in front of Tanya, who raised her arms to resist and immediately made her grunt in pain. That's not necessarily the case. Let's start the battle. Fantasy of Huage Sheng Diva Flowers attack Amazon swordsman. After Tanya suffered the damage, she quickly grinned again and said to Jiang He, reflex roar. As Jiang He raised his hand to signal for an order, the silver-haired singer Lolita on the field in front of him, Phantom Huage Sheng Huajai Dai Wa instantly inhaled and opened his mouth, releasing a huge green energy sound wave. The burly female Amazon swordsman with purple-red hair and a curved blade sword rushed towards Tanya on the field in front of her. Nanny, how dare you use a monster with only 500 attack power to actively attack my Amazon swordsman with 1500 attack power? Seeing this scene, Tanya suddenly showed a surprised expression. But soon she suddenly inexplicably felt that this scene seemed so familiar. Not far from Jiang He's side, Asuka Tianqingyuan, Yaocheng Judai, Wang Jingmu and others, 190, watching the battle suddenly felt an inexplicably familiar feeling. It seems as if. Not long ago, when Tanya, the muscular Amazon girl on the opposite side, used Amazon swordsman to touch Miss Awaz, Litmus's swordsman of death. Asuka and the others in Tianqingyuan soon thought of why there was such a sense of familiarity. This made her they suddenly have a guess. The monster Jiang He summoned, shouldn't it also have the ability to touch porcelain similar to the Amazon swordsman on the opposite side? Drink. In the next second, after the purple-red-haired Amazon female swordsman raised the curved blade long sword in her hand and counterattacked with all her strength against the huge green energy sound wave. In an instant, under the impact of the sound wave, it screamed and was destroyed, shattered into orange particles and disappeared. How is it possible? Why is my Amazon swordsman destroyed even though it has a higher attack power? Tanya suddenly said in shock. The second special effect of Phantom Huage Sheng Flower Deva. Jiang He raised two fingers and gestured with a smile. When she fights with a specially summoned monster, destroy that monster, and inflict damage equal to the difference between that monster and her original attack power. The original attack power of Fantasy Huaji Sheng Flower Deva is 1000, which is 500 points lower than your Amazon swordsman. That is to say, you still need to suffer 500 points of damage. Reflex song roar. Following Jiang He's voice fell. Ah tilde. The huge green energy sound wave suddenly appeared under the high-pitched voice of the silver-haired lowly singer on the field in front of him. It directly hit the Vajra Barbatania in the distance. Under the impact of this sonic energy, Tanya suddenly groaned and cried out in pain while holding his head. Gritting his teeth, he showed a painful expression. And her life value has been reduced to 3,500 LP, and it has dropped by 500 LP again, becoming 300 LP. It still has such a troublesome effect. The expression on Tanya's face became a little ugly, and she clenched her fists. Her Amazon card group, the most powerful place except for the tricky effect of Amazon swordsman. You can't revive monsters, especially if you do a special summon to reduce the opponent's attack power and increase the attack power of your own monsters, to carry out the means of strong attack and suppression. But now that Jiang He is on the stage, this seemingly weak monster has restricted her skills by half. Ding, Tanya's emotional value plus 200, sure enough. Tianqingyun, Asuka, Wang Jingmu, Yaocheng Shidai and others all had weird expressions and couldn't help but support their foreheads. The monster Jiang He uses, even if it looks like a normal cute girl, must be from the underworld. And what kind of gorgeous and cute girl is this? She is clearly the top pottery master in the underworld. Even more outrageous than the ace monster Amazon swordsman of the muscular woman Tanya. Then ambush 3 cards, the round ends. Jiang He placed 3 of his 5 cards on the dueling board, ending the round. HMPH, although it is indeed a tricky monster, it's not like I have no way to deal with it here. Tanya snorted and said, with her hand wearing a pitch-black prop glove, she forcefully drew cards from her own deck. My turn, press. After taking a look, a smile appeared on her face. Come yet. This dark item, the dark magic hand, seems to have the ability to enhance the duelist's ability to draw cards to a certain extent. Seeing Tanya's expression, Jiang He couldn't help raising his eyebrows and muttered inwardly. Has Tanya drawn anything that can counter Jiang He's, the diva of the singing flower of the illusion? Wang Jingmu also clearly noticed the change of Vajra Barbie in the distance, and Tanya guessed immediately. Others also tightened their expressions and looked at the duel field. Let me show you the special power of Amazon. Tanya looked at Jiang He with a crooked grin and activated the drawn card directly. Initiate quick play magic from the hand, 2/4 Amazon summons. The effect of this card, when there is a monster with the name Amazon on your field, you can select a fusion monster on the opponent's field and force it back to the deck. Then the opponent can special summon the original fusion material from the graveyard. Mamma mia, the poor boy's situation seems to be getting worse. Upon hearing this, Professor Kronos couldn't help but hugged his own golden mushroom head and said, "The expressions of Asuka and the others in Tianqingyuan also changed." Although Fantasy of Huage Sheng Flower Deva on Jiang He's field has an effect that cannot be destroyed by battle effects, but if it is forced to return to the card group, it is completely outside the defense range of the destructive effect. But soon, Tianqingyuan Asuka and Yucheng Shidai saw that Jiang He seemed to have expected it. It's still that calm expression. If you really ask you to return the monsters on my field to the deck, then I will have a headache, open the ambush card and trap Phantom of Mirage. Seeing the shadow of the quick play magic card appearing on the field in front of Tania, there was a wraith-like energy impact towards the silver-haired lowly singer on the field in front of her. Jiang He immediately raised his hand, signaling to one of the 3 ambush cards in the backcourt in front of him. In an instant, a trap was set off, revealing a pattern with the phantom of a musical note girl. The effect of this card, choose a monster with the name Phantom on your field this round. This monster will not be affected by the opponent's magic and trap effects. Following Jiang He's words, a burst of dark purple light suddenly lit up from the raised trap pattern. The protection transformed into the energy of musical notes is in front of Phantom Huage Sheng Huajua. All of a sudden, the energy of the resentful soul from the opponent's impact was directly resisted. Nanny, you actually prepared a trap to resist the return effect. Tania's face changed suddenly, and she became a little uncomfortable. Ding, Tania's emotional value plus 300. Tania gritted her teeth and frowned, staring at the field in front of Jiang He, which obviously only had 500 attack power. Even the figure of a silver-haired lowly singer monster that is provocatively attacking. This petite and cute girl monster to her now is like a stone in a latrine, smelly and hard, cannot be destroyed by effects and cannot deal combat damage. Unless this monster can be turned into defense mode, then with the opponent's defense power as high as 2000, as long as she normally summons Amazon Swordsman, she still has a way to win. Otherwise, I can only slowly spend it with this little brother named Jiang He. After figuring out the strategy, Tania immediately raised the dual plate on her left wrist and put the last card in her hand into the unfolded field magic area. Activate field magic, Amazon's death match field. Boom. Following a rumbling sound from the ground, a huge black iron cage full of thorns suddenly rose from the ground around the Colosseum. The entire large-scale dual field, as well as Jiang He in the dual field and Vajra Babatania in the distance on the opposite side, were enveloped inside. After the effect of Amazon's deathmatch is activated, both parties will restore 600 LP life value. And every time a monster attacks, the controller of that monster can pay 100 LP life value to cause 100 points of damage to the opponent. What kind of effect is this? Is it meaningless to consume each other's blood? And now Jiang He's health has the upper hand. Hearing what Tania said about the effect of this field, Maruto Sho and Hayato, 2 dueling scumbags, were suddenly surprised. No, if it's a dark duel, then this field magic will be very effective. As a person who has personally experienced the dark duel and knows its horror, Yucheng Judai suddenly explained with a dignified expression. Because the damage caused by the dark duel is real, if someone's body can't hold on first, then they will lose. In other words, when the effect of the magic on this field is activated, it is to go up to the real person to PK and cause damage to the opponent. For a moment Wan Zhangmu didn't know what kind of expression he should make and interpreted it strangely. In the past, although he had been beaten by Jiang He's Yu Yu's fist several times, he really wanted to attack his fist to express his summoning. But it's the first time I've seen someone actually. In the duel, my blood pressure surged due to being depressed by Jiang He, and I started to think of a way to have a real-life PK with him. Whenever you plan to slowly consume 100 LP life points, you have to give that guy Jiang He a punch. You can't do such barbaric things as beating people with your hands. The corner of Jiang He's mouth twitched involuntarily. But he didn't intend to take a punch from the opponent, and immediately raised his hand to signal to one of the 2 ambush cards on the field in front of him. Open the ambush card, Quick Attack Magic Book of the Moon. Now I want to have a dark duel with real person PK, but it is blocked again. Now the only monster she has on the field has been turned into face-down defense position, obviously no longer able to use field effects. Moreover, the field effect has to be used by the opponent. Jiang He said with a sunny smile on his face. I chose, of course, Amazon's holy warrior on your field, deprive you of the right to use field effects this round. It's the turn of that nasty kid, use the field effect, pay 100 LP life value and give her a punch. The effect of this card is activated by selecting a face-up monster on the opponent's field, and that monster is flipped over and becomes face-down defense position. Ding, Tania's emotional value plus 800. A quick attack magic with the pattern of the Crescent Moon magic book suddenly set off. It caused a scream as it struggled and turned into a ball of light, and then turned into a huge shadow of the card placed horizontally on the back. Tania immediately gritted her teeth and clenched her fists, staring at Jiang He with an aggrieved and uncomfortable expression. It was Tania's first duel, and she felt the uncomfortable feeling of having nowhere to use her power. The effect of Field Magic Amazon's Death Arena can only be used by the controller of that monster when the monster declares an attack. In terms of special summoning, blocked by that petite monster, and wait until Jiang He's turn. As his voice fell, a mysterious green energy suddenly shot out from the Crescent 840 magic tome that emerged from the magic card and landed on the blonde-haired Amazon female warrior in a torn white cloth. Now that your turn is over, it's time for me. Seeing Tania's unwillingness to end the round, the smile on Jiang He's face became even brighter, and he immediately used his skills to draw cards from the top of his dueling deck with all his strength. My turn, draw a card. For a moment, Yao Cheng Judai and Wang Jingmu, who were watching the battle not far away, suddenly noticed a familiar aura flashing over Jiang He. Jiang He, are you going to start? Wang Jingmu said as if recalling some terrible memory. The hot-blooded idiot Yao Cheng Judai also showed the same expression. He clearly remembered the time when he was tortured by Jiang He's Yingxing deck. It was after the appearance of this duelist power with all his strength in Jiang He that he began to reach the peak. Let me teach you how to use the true power of the Amazons. He almost didn't even look at the cards he drew this round after using the top-level Mingjing Zhishui Heart skill. With a kind smile on his face, Jiang He directly put the drawn card on his dueling board. I summon Amazon Swordsman with an attack signal, Nanny, Amazon Swordsman. Whether it was Vajrababatania, who was the opponent in the duel in the distance, or Asuka and Professor Kronos who were watching the battle, they all showed shocking expressions in an instant. In a blink of an eye, with a flash of light, a familiar purple-red-haired, burly and muscular Amazon female swordsman figure emerged with a low voice. A man holding a long curved sword appeared on the field in front of Jiang He. Amazon Swordsman Star, 4, Attribute, Ground. Attack power 1500, defense power 1600. It is exactly the same as the Amazon Swordsman summoned by Tania just now. Is this a type of NTR? But even if you don't know why, you have a card from our Amazon family, but you still have a long way to go to beat me tilde tilde. After being shocked for a moment, Tania quickly put this behind her head and said to Jiang He confidently. Didn't even ask Jiang He how this card came about. To be able to have the assassin dueling monster elves of the Tomb Guard family by his side. This shows that this little ghost, named Jiang He, has been to the different world where they fight monster elves before. Maybe at some point in the middle they have been near the territory where the Amazons are, and it might be possible to get an Amazon Swordsman card successfully, but if you want to defeat her, you are still far away. Tania is so confident. On her field there is also the Amazon Holy Warrior, that Jiang He used the Quick Attack Magic Book of the Moon to change to the defensive position on the inside. Even if it is destroyed by an attack, it cannot cause much damage to her. And because of the effect of the Field Magic Amazon's dual field she activated just now, when this card was first activated, both parties recovered 600 LP of life. At this time, Jiang He's life value has directly increased from the original 4,000 LP to 4,600 LP. And her life value also recovered from the reduced 3,000 LP to a full 3,600 LP. Coupled with the ambush that reduces the opponent's monster attack power, and the trap card of the special summoned monster this round, it is almost difficult for that little ghost named Jiang He to cause much damage to her. And wait until the next turn, as long as she usually summons a monster with high attack power to destroy the Amazon Swordsman on Jiang He's field. Then the balance of victory will tilt towards her again. But just as Tania was thinking about it with a smile on her lips, she suddenly heard Jiang He say a very familiar and hateful word to her. Not always. Jiang He smiled lightly and waved directly. As Jiang He needed, the huge card shadow that was originally on the cover was flipped upside down. A gleam of light shone from it, and it turned into the blonde-haired Amazon woman warrior figure in a broken white cloth again. It quickly landed on the silver-haired lowly singer monster figure on the field in front of Jiang He, and the burly Amazon female swordsman with purple-red hair next to him, as Tanya's voice fell. And the green energy sound wave that was originally attacking the Amazon holy warrior squatting in a defensive posture also lost its power all at once. It landed on the opponent's body without pain, and then disappeared without a trace. The effect of Amazon crossbow team. What money is good when the opponent's monster attacks? As long as there is a monster with the name Amazon on my field, the attack power of the opponent's monster will be reduced by 500 points. A large number of Amazon female crossbowmen emerging from the trap on the field in front of her suddenly released a dark purple energy light. Ohm. On the field in front of him, the silver-haired lowly singer monster with only 500 attack power suddenly opened its mouth, releasing a green energy sound wave. Open ambush card trap Amazon crossbow squad. Following Jiang He's signal to order. Just when the green sonic energy released by Huage Sheng of Illusion, Deva Flower was about to destroy the Amazon female warrior with only 300 defense power. Start the battle, Fantasy Huage Sheng Diva Flowers attack the Amazon's holy warrior in the defensive position on the inside. Reflect the song Roar. It's just that at this time, she changed into a defensive posture with her hands crossed in front of her body and half squatting on the shadow of the card lying horizontally. Quickly rushed to the huge shadow of the card placed on the field in front of Tanya. Suddenly, a trap was set off, and several female Amazon archers holding crossbows emerged from it. Tanya suddenly raised her finger to one of the two ambush cards on the field in front of her. The attack power of the two monsters dropped drop by drop, becoming 0 attack power and 1000 attack power. Since you used the trap yourself to reduce the attack power of my monsters, protecting Amazon Saint Warrior from being destroyed by the attack of Phantom Huage Sheng Flower Deva will save me trouble. Before Tanya could say anything proudly, she soon saw Jiang He nodding with a satisfied smile on his face. Nanny, this immediately made Tanya look surprised, thought of a possibility. Could it be that the Amazon holy warrior on her field is not destroyed, which is the result this guy needs? Does Jiang He have any other special plans? Sho Maruto, who was watching the match, asked curiously. Everyone else was also aroused by curiosity and looked at Jiang He. Although Jiang He still has Amazon swordsman with the effect of the underworld on the field and has not attacked yet. But the defensive strength of the Amazon holy warrior on the opponent's field is only a mere 300 points. Logically speaking, it should be impossible for Dasheng to achieve the effect of touching porcelain. Since I taught you in 597 just now, the real touch of the Amazons. Ba power how to use it, then of course there is my way. Jiang He waved his hand directly to signal for the order. Amazon swordsman attack Amazon Saint Warrior, touch the sword of porcelain, drink. The burly Amazon female swordsman with purple-red hair on the field in front of him instantly raised her curved sword with a low drink and struck the half-squatting figure of the blonde female Amazon warrior Yubu. Peng, porcelain sword. Tanya's face turned black when she heard this. Almost didn't rush to have a real PK with Jiang He. How dare this guy mess up the names of their Amazon monsters' moves? Ding, Tanya's mood value plus 800. But even so, the attack of that guy's Amazon swordsman should at most only destroy the Amazon holy warrior on her field, Tanya thought to herself as she stared at Jiang He's movements. Then her last ambush card, Biff Perpetual Trap Amazon's Will, can play some role in the next round. Special summon a monster in the graveyard to destroy this guy's Amazon swordsman. This is the moment, open the ambush card and trap fight together. Just when Tanya was thinking this way, she suddenly saw a brighter and brighter smile on Jiang He's face, waved to the last ambush card on the field in front of himself. A fiery red trap with the pattern of two monsters facing a powerful enemy together was lifted open. It's fighting together. Yu Cheng Judai, Wang Jingmu, Professor Kronos and others all showed somewhat bewildered expressions when they saw this. That's not often the students of the Dueling Academy when their own monsters are attacked. Is it a common trap that is suddenly used to strengthen the attack power and defense power of one's own monsters and catch the opponent off guard? Even scumbags like Maruto Sho and Hayato and Asuka's two best friends, Junko Mamo, who doesn't fight duels very much, showed quite familiar expressions after seeing them. Then they raised the same guess with weird expressions. Jiang He is now activated at this time. Isn't it intended to enhance the defense of Tanya's Amazon Holy Warrior? And soon, this speculation was directly turned into reality by Jiang He. The effect of this card is to discard a monster from your hand. Select a face-up monster on the field as the target. Make the monster's attack power and defense power become exactly the same as the discarded monster in my hand before the end of the round. The smile on Jiang He's face was like a spring breeze, and then from his hand he showed a card that made the opposite far away, the Vajra Barbatania, who was the opponent in the duel. And the wide-eyed monsters of Asuka Tenshin, Manjimu and others who are watching the battle. I want to choose the monster in my hand to discard, of course, this Sin True Dragon. Sin True Dragon Star, 12 Attribute Dark Eye 5000 Defense Power 5000 Defensive Power. Wanzhang Mu, Yu Chengju Dai, and Professor Kronos almost stared out their eyes. And in the distance on the opposite side, the expression of Tania, who was the opponent in the duel, also became stiff to a little numb for an instant. At this time she was staring at Jiang He with a dark face, only a simmering MMP in her heart, and she couldn't vomit. I really want to say something to him. The underworld is still your underworld. There is no porcelain to touch, and the conditions must be created to touch up. Roar. And as Jiang He sent the Sin True Dragon in his hand to the cemetery. From the trap total fight opened on the field in front of him, a phantom of the earthy yellow flying dragon of Sin True Dragon flew out immediately. In an instant, it flew to the opponent's field, above the white-clothed blonde-haired Amazon woman squatting in a defensive posture. The defensive power of Amazon Holy Warrior directly rose to the same 5,000 points. Crack. In the next second, Jiang He signaled to attack the burly Amazon female swordsman with purple-red hair who had just charged in front of the opponent, raised the curved long sword in her hand and slashed down. It was immediately blocked by the Amazon Holy Warrior with a long sword. Even with the greatly enhanced strength of the opponent, the curved blade of the Amazon swordsman was directly broken with a click. Immediately, the curved sharp blade spun and flew into the sky. Amazon swordsman's special effect, the battle damage is borne by the opponent. The 4,000 points of difference in damage will be borne by you. Jiang He raised 2 fingers and said with a smile with a flying gesture. As his words fell, the broken blade flying up into the sky, as if being controlled, rotated precisely and flew towards Tania at the back of the opposite field. As the spinning sharp broken blade flew towards the far side of the duel field, the muscular woman Tania immediately drew a wound visible to the naked eye on her muscular arm. It made him cry out in pain instantly, and painful cold sweat appeared on his forehead. And her original 3,600 HP was directly followed by the Amazon swordsman, Pengsai's full 4,000 points of damage, and it was directly dropped to 0. The figures of the monsters on the field immediately blurred and disappeared. The pitch-black steel cages surrounding the Amazon deathmatch also shrank and disappeared with a bang. Ding, Tania's mood value plus 1,000. Even though Tania was covered in painful cold sweat, she still had a dark face, gritting her teeth and staring at Jiang He. She never expected that she would be hit to death by the method of touching porcelain. This way of losing, compared to being defeated by a powerful offensive with punches to the flesh, is really a bit aggrieved. Win, it's really an interesting duel. Regarding Tania's expression that was about to scream, Jiang He was immediately helpful and put on a classic pose of the 10 generations of Yao Cheng. He smiled and raised his hand to give her a closing sentence. Face ridicule. JPG. Tania instantly felt her blood pressure soar to a critical value. Ding, Tania's mood value plus 500. Roar. But at this moment, a burst of dark energy fluctuations suddenly emerged from Tania's body, causing her body to start to lie down and slowly transform into a beast. What eventually disappeared completely was a giant white Amazon tiger. He roared uncontrollably in the direction of Jiang He, and the black gloves and dark props that were originally wearing Tania's hand, the dark magic hand also fell to the ground and disappeared in a burst of twilight. Alas. That 7-star dark duelist Tania's body is actually a tiger. Maruto Sho immediately exclaimed first, everyone else showed shocked expressions. In this regard, Jiang He is not very surprised. According to what he knew, to be precise, Tania's body was indeed the materialized dueling monster elf with the appearance of a muscular woman just now. Now, after losing the dark duel with him, he turned into a white Amazon tiger. It was entirely because Tania lost the duel with the person who invited her to join the 7 Stars Dark Forces. Therefore, he was cursed to become a tiger if he appeared in the real world here. During the duel just now, the ability to maintain the original appearance of the dueling monster elf was all due to the power of the dark prop, the dark magic hand. The duelist named Jiang He, I remember you. I hope you will never appear in the world of dueling monster elves again, otherwise, I will definitely continue to seek revenge from you in a duel. From the white Amazon tiger, Tania's rough female voice said to Jiang He, aggrieved. Then in a blink of an eye, like the Amazon pet tiger buzz, the particles gradually disappeared from bottom to top, returning to the world of dueling monsters and elves where they were originally. Revenge for kindness. Jiang He was a little dissatisfied immediately. He said that he was so dedicated to bring the other party the face and warmth of the real world. This is the time to send him some Amazon souvenirs as a thank you and instead seek revenge from him. The 7-star female dark duelist, Tania turned into a tiger, didn't go up to bite that guy Jiang He. This restraint is really quite powerful. Tianqingyun Asuka couldn't help sighing when she heard the words and said while holding her forehead. Even a bystander like her felt her blood pressure soar just by bringing in the other person's situation. The other party can still bear it and does not directly attack a certain guy with a real PK attack. It can only be said that this restraint is as expected of a woman who is the king of the descendants of the Amazons over their dueling monster spirits. Although she was very dissatisfied with the matter of robbing her just now, ask for flowers. Then in the next second, everyone's eyes fell on the Hayato who stood in the middle and the golden-haired mushroom head professor. They all have their share. But even though he has recovered, the injuries he suffered in the dark duel just now are still there. Therefore, San's daddy was still lying on the ground over there in a coma at this time. At the same time, he took a step back and moved a little away from them, although Manjimu and Misawa were the ones who carried them back, including the Kamura incident. Wanjingmu heard the words and immediately said as a matter of course, "Brother is too cunning, but my size and strength can't carry Misawa at all." Sho Marutu also immediately said in a panic looking for a reason. Hayato and Professor Kronos were stunned. After Tania and the Amazon pet tiger bass disappeared, San's daddy also directly returned to its original state. He directly dumped this troublesome thing to that passionate idiot Yaojo Judai and Sho Marutu. Seeing Asuka and others from Tianqingyuan come forward, Jiang He immediately spread his hands and asked Wanjingmu and Yaocheng Shidai a question that needed to be faced with reality. "Good teacher, JP6G. Sho, this is the time to show your strength as a little brother." Yu Cheng Shizuo said to Sho Maruto immediately after his expression lagged behind. "So, whose turn to carry Sans back this time?" "Osiris Red Koala Boy, they seem to be telling you to memorize it." Professor Kronos said decisively to the fat Hayato next to him after being stunned for a second. After the duel with Fubuki-senpai in the previous Tianqingyuan, it was Sans who carried back the 10 generations who were comatose as hostages at that time. So this time, of course, it is your turn to carry him. Mamma mia, why were the two of them when they were said to be unattractive? But now when it comes to betraying others, it is the two of them who are unlucky again. Really, these 7-star dark duelists really don't make people worry at all. In the evening, Jiang He and Tianqingyuan Asuka finished their luxurious bento dinner and lay comfortably on the sofa in the living room of their hut. While drinking the green tea that Kamula just brewed happily, he digested his food. And Tianqingyuan Asuka was also holding a cup of tea in both hands, sitting on the sofa not far from Jiang He in a ladylike manner, and sighed helplessly thinking of what happened one after another in the past few days. In just a few days, they had already encountered a total of 5 dark duelists from the 7-star forces, and the people who were injured and admitted to the health care room were also one after another. Especially after Sans' daddy was defeated by Tania this time, 497 left the key to the 7-star gate in their hands at this time. There are only her, Jiang He, and the 3 hands of Wanjingmu left. The crisis that the seal of the 3 magic demons was opened seems to be getting stronger and stronger. I really like those 7-star dark duelists. Jiang He took a sip of tea, rubbed his chin in consideration, and gave a fairly pertinent evaluation. After all, those 7-star dark duels gave so much emotional value, it was really hard for him not to like them. He gave too much. JPG, Asuka of the Heavenly Court was speechless for a moment. Although she is completely unaware of the secrets of Jiang He's system. But after thinking about it carefully, the differences between the 7-star dark duelists against Jiang He and the previous Yaocheng Shidai and Wanjingmu. Asuka suddenly found out that for this guy there really didn't seem to be much difference. All are objects that can be depressed. Speaking of which, how is your brother Asuka? Jiang He seemed to have thought of something suddenly and asked Asuka, the upper court with bright eyes. Last night he heard Asuka say that her brother Fubiksu Tenshingin seems to be about to wake up. And after finishing Tania's affairs during the day, at noon, Asuka Tianqingyun didn't go back to the hut here with him. Instead, she went to the health room to take care of her high condition. Logically speaking, there should be almost news. My brother, he. Asuka Tianqingyun didn't notice that someone's eyes lit up at all. Hearing Jiang He ask about her brother, Tianqingyu and Asuka couldn't help but said with a helpless expression. Although Wake Up did wake up, and the injured body has basically recovered, but another troublesome situation has appeared. My brother, he seems to have lost his memory, not only the previous dark duel, but he can't even pronounce my name at all. Can't even pronounce your name. Hearing this, Jiang He couldn't help being slightly surprised. He remembered that in the original trajectory, Asuka's sand-sculpted brother was blowing snow in the sky. Although there is indeed a part of the memory that was sealed in the space of the previous dark duel ceremony, causing amnesia. But at least she can still recognize her younger sister, Asuka Tenshingen. Unexpectedly, the degree of amnesia now seems to be a little bit more serious than what he had imagined. She couldn't even pronounce Asuka's name at all. Asuka, do you want me to have a normal duel with the seniors of the Heavenly Academy once or twice, so that he can experience the familiar feeling before? Jiang He raised his fist and coughed dryly with a serious look. He proposed to Asuka, the Heavenly Court. Maybe if you are stimulated, you will immediately remember it. He Jiang, someone good at healing others. Asuka of the Heavenly Court was stunned for a moment, looking at Jiang He with bright eyes. She asked with some hesitation, although Mr. Ayukawa did say that if there are any familiar stimuli, it may have an effect on the symptoms of amnesia. But by fighting you or something, can it really be effective? After all, if you fight a duel with someone. She is also afraid that her brother will be so angry that he needs to lie in the health room just after recovering a bit. I think it should have some effect, Jiang He said with certainty. He can't say anything about other aspects such as recognizing Asuka, but at least he can recover a little bit of memory from the previous dark duel. It's still possible. After all, even though the darkness that had been sealed was the one who held the dominance at that time. However, Chuksu's soul in Tianqingyuan is still in him, and he has experienced these. It's just that now, because of the darkness being sealed, his memory has gone wrong and he has temporarily lost his memory. Only the memories of family members and life in Duel Academy before the Heavenly Academy Fubuki, etc. It was sealed in the dark duel ceremony space in the abandoned dormitory of the previous Duel Academy. It will be possible to find a way to get it back after the need. Let Brother Zaina sand sculpture remember it on the 1/6 tomorrow. If that's the case, then tomorrow I'll ask you to have a duel with my brother. Asuka nodded immediately and said to Jiang He, leave this to me. Jiang He nodded with a smile on his face. He can not only earn emotional points but also do good deeds. He would like to call himself top 10 good youths of financial experts. Then, I'm going to use the hot spring bath first. After receiving Jiang He's affirmative answer, Tianqingyu and Asuka looked at him with soft eyes, smiled and stood up from the sofa and said, although this guy sometimes has a bit of a bad taste, but at least in this respect he is still very reliable. The next morning in the healthcare room. Because there is no class in Duel Academy this morning, Jiang He went out with Asuka of the Heavenly Academy in the morning. I went to the canteen of Auntie Duomai in the Duel Academy and bought a golden egg bread and vermicelli bread for breakfast. Then came to the health room. According to the agreement with Asuka last night, Fubuki will be given rehabilitation training to restore some memories. Generally speaking, I already know that Jiang He's method may really have some effect. After learning about the situation, the big-haired teacher Ayukawa quickly nodded in agreement. Then she looked at the sober Tianqingyuan Fuxu and asked a question. Students from the Heavenly Academy, you should be willing to give it a try, right? Brother, Tianqingyuan Asuka immediately looked at her brother solemnly, hoping that he would agree. I understand. If it's to recall some memories, of course it's fine. Seeing this, Chuksu nodded immediately. He said to Jiang He, I'm going to trouble you. I defeated Da 18 Arnes earlier and saved my boy. He really doesn't have any impression of other things at all, but only Jiang He. After Chuksu saw it, he immediately felt a familiar, throbbing feeling emerge from the depths of his soul. It seems that his body is warning him, don't fight like this guy. However, because of this, Fubuki Tianqingyuan was even more sure that the duel with Jiang He might really allow him to recover a little bit of memory, even if it's just a small part. What he doesn't know is that hell is ahead. Since it's a duel with the seniors of the Heavenly Court for recovery training, why don't I use this new deck first and try it as an appetizer? Seeing Fubixu nodding in the sky, Jiang He suddenly smiled and took out the other cheap underworld card group that was exchanged together. The combination card draw card group suggested. He decided to try the depressing effect of this card group first with this brother-in-law. Let's see if we can earn more emotional points. Jiang He said that he doesn't mind wasting a little more time trying out all the decks one by one. Anyway, If the stimulation needed to restore my brother's memory is the feeling of dueling with you, then no matter which 10-card groups it is, it should be fine. Tianqingyu and Asuka looked weird for a while and said a little bit not knowing how to complain. High emotional intelligence, the feeling of dueling with you. Low EQ, hypertension-induced depression experience. Well, let's go out on the field and get started. After receiving an affirmative answer, Jiang He immediately smiled with satisfaction. Then Fubuki from Tenshingan and Asuka from Tenshingan came to the vacant space of the health care class next to the health care room. Even San's daddy, who had just woken up in the health room not long ago and was still on crutches, after learning about the situation, abruptly followed him to try to see it. As a result, in the next second, Kaiser Maruto Ryo, who came to visit his best friend, and Yujo Judai and Manjamu, who visited Misawa Daddy, also followed to the sidelines to observe the situation. Seeing Jiang, he couldn't help complaining for a while. He really wanted to know so much. This is how to do it in 1 second from only 2 observers, Asuka and Mr. Ayukawa, to 8. It seems that he can't hide the secret of his Ju card drawing deck. I heard that Jiang He is going to use a new deck. I'm really looking forward to what it is. On the sidelines, Yao Cheng Judai didn't pay attention to this at all and said excitedly with his fists clenched. Misawa Daji, Manjamu, Marutu Sho, and the others immediately nodded positively in unison. Several people exude a strange atmosphere inexplicably. This weird vibe, the title must not be the only ones they get depressed by that guy Jiang He. As a person who has been tortured by Jiang He's underworld deck Xiyu, I can see that others are also depressed by this guy. For them, it is as refreshing as eating iced watermelon in summer. This made Ayukawa-sensei on the other side, Kaiser Maruto Ryo, and Hayato couldn't help but wonder for a while. Only Asuka, who was also tortured by someone's underworld deck, but with a different identity at this time, vaguely understood the atmosphere and couldn't help but help her forehead speechlessly. Come on, Jiang He. At this time, Chuksu from Tianqingyuan also took the initiative to say to Jiang He, of course, duel. As Jiang He and the other party spoke at the same time, both of the duel boards also lit up with red lights and spread out. After the two drew 5 starting cards each, 570 of the same 4,000 LP suddenly appeared beside them. Let me go first and draw a card. After looking at the cards in his hand, Jiang He decisively took the initiative and drew cards from the top of his deck. He decided to give Tianqingyuan Fubuki a pleasant experience that only uses 3 cards and ends. Activate the magic card Angel's Alms from your hand. Draw 3 cards from the top of the deck and add them to your hand, then choose 2 cards from your hand and discard them. Jiang He took out a card from his hand and put it directly on the duel board to activate it. A familiar magic card with the figure of an angel suddenly appeared on the field in front of him. Then, as he drew 3 cards from the top of the deck and added them to his hand, they shattered into particles and disappeared. The 2 cards I chose to discard to go to the cemetery are these 2, Ceruli, the Mentor of the Dark World. Ceruli, the Mentor of the Dark World, it's another monster that I haven't seen before. Kaiser Maruto Ryo and Wang Jingmu on the sidelines were all surprised. When they first saw Jiang He taking out Angel's Alms, they thought Jiang He was using a type similar to the previous round to kill the Dark Mage or disrupt the deck. The moment Jiang He sent the 2 cards in his hand Ceruli, Mentor of the Dark World, to the cemetery, 2 gleams of light appeared on the snow-blowing field in the opposite sky courtyard. It turned into 2 gray and black figures of the little demon old man holding a magic wand, appeared in a half-squatting defensive posture on the field in front of Fuxu Tianqingyuan, on top of the 2 horizontal cards that emerged. Ceruli, the Mentor of the Dark World, Star, 1. Attribute Dark, Attack Power, 100 Defense Power, 300 Nanny. What's going on? Chuksu was stunned for a moment, looking in surprise at these 2 monsters that Jiang He had specially summoned to his field. Is it the effect of the monsters of the 2 Master Ceruli of the Dark Realm? Caesar Maruto Ryo and Misawa Daddy on the sidelines also showed expressions of surprise, and they couldn't help guessing. It's the special effect of this monster. When Ceruli, the Instructor of the Dark World, is discarded to the graveyard due to the effect of the card, it can be special summoned in defense mode on the opposite field. Jiang He directly gave an affirmative answer. Then with a smile on his face, he casually placed 2 cards, took out a key card and gestured for it. Then ambush 2 pots of greed and activate the magic card from the hand. 1 hit kills. Ju draws cards. Ambush 2 pieces, the pot of lust. Asuka and Wang Jingmu of Tianqingyuan were shocked by Jiang He's coquettish manipulation. There is also the use of pot of greed as an ambush card, and the cover is not used on the field. Even Fubixu Tianqingyuan, who was facing Jiang He in the rehabilitation training duel, was surprised. Put cards like Pot of Greed directly on the field and don't use them. Does that mean you don't need to use them at all? Caesar Maruto instantly understood the meaning of Jiang He's coquettish operation and guessed in surprise. Hearing this, everyone's eyes immediately fell on Jiang He's mobilization, and the magic card that appeared on the field in front of him, one-hit kill. Ikai draw card is on it. On the magic card, there is a pattern of someone putting his hand on the samurai sword and about to unsheath the posture of Yi Zhan. Obviously, the key to all this lies in this card. Including Fubixu Tianqingyuan, who is the opponent, also stared at it all at once. The effect of this card is activated by discarding a card in your hand. Send the number of cards on the opponent's field from the top of your deck to the graveyard and then draw a card. When the drawn card is also one-hit kill. Yi draw card, destroy all cards on the field, send each destroyed card to the graveyard, and deal 1,000 points of damage to the opponent. Jiang He said with a smile on his face, and after sending a card from his hand to the graveyard, he put his hand on his dueling board deck. As if gaining momentum, start to activate the magic pumping skills, the top-level mirror and water-stopping heart. In an instant, a special power aura emerged from him. Once in a round, you will definitely draw a card you want, and you can even draw a chance to draw a card that you don't put in this deck but you own. It's actually this kind of card that completely draws cards and has a bond effect with the deck. Teacher Aikawa, Daichai Misuwa, and Sho Maruto all showed expressions of surprise. This guy Jiang He actually uses this kind of card that is not at all underworld. Compared with them, Kaiser Maruto Ryo, Yujo Judai, and Manjimu had weird expressions. That feeling is definitely not wrong. They already felt the familiar duelist aura emerging from Jiang He's body. If it's this guy, it doesn't seem impossible to get the desired card. Even their inexplicable general feeling, the duelist aura that appeared on Jiang He this time seems to be much stronger than what he felt before. And in fact, it is true. Because what Jiang He used this time was not even the simple magical draw as before. Instead, from his own deck, he drew a card that he didn't put in, the real top-level mirror and water-stopping ability, in order to ensure that there are 3 one-hit kill. I draw cards, there will not be such a small probability event as outrageously getting all of them in one round. Give Brother Asuka perfect, depressing experience. He even improperly put one of the one-hit kill, I draw cards directly in other decks. This card drawing move, I would like to call it, such a fast knife. Jiang He added a coquettish comment at the moment of card drawing, in the next second as he draws the card from the top of the deck. Boom. The 2 defensive monsters in front of Chuxu and Tianqingyuan, as well as the 2 Pot of Lust, Gekkas that Jiang He ambushed on the field, all of them turned bloody in an instant and exploded with the flashing cold light. And the original 4,000 LP life value of Fubuki in the Heavenly Court was also emptied in an instant of Liz. The card that Jiang He drew is really one-hit kill, draw card hook. Tenshingen Asuka, Misuwa Daichai, Kaiser Maruto Ryo and the others watched in shock as Tenshingen Fubuki's HP was emptied, and at the same time they saw clearly what the card Jiang He drew out. Chuxu, on the other hand, knelt down on the ground with a bewildered expression, looking at his emptied HP, as well as the cards in the hand that haven't even been moved and the dual plate deck, falling into deep silence. Ding, blowing snow mood value plus 300 in Tianqingyuan. He seemed to have experienced a duel just now, and he seemed to have never had a duel at all. Except for the pain of being killed with one blow, there is no joyful experience of a duel at all. Seniors of the Heavenly Academy, do you feel that you have a little recovered memory fragment? With an encouraging expression on his face, Jiang He clenched his fists and asked Chuxu towards the Heavenly Courtyard. It seems that there is indeed a little deep memory, and there is a feeling of familiar emotions rising. Chuxu covered his own head with his hand and said, I vaguely remembered something about the dark duel before. Then he looked at Jiang He with renewed energy. Please do it again. This time I will definitely win and recall more memories. Just got it. Jiang He gave a thumbs up for encouragement. By the way, he changed the deck of the Dark Mage one-time killing deck without slowing down and put it in the duel tray. Why does this scene feel so familiar? Maruto Sho suddenly murmured with sweat all over his face. Not only the memory of Chuxu and Tianqingyuan was awakened, even he seemed to be awakened by some terrible memories. A minute later, as a burst of flames and smoke exploded on the field of the healthcare class, Chuxu fell to his knees on the ground 340 times with a dazed expression, looking at the 5 cards in his hand that he hadn't touched at all, and the health value that was instantly cleared by Jiang He's Dark Mage. I started to have some doubts about life. Why did the student Jiang He change his deck, but he still didn't have any pleasant experience of dueling except for the pain? Just watching Jiang He's book for half a minute, he was instantly killed by the Dark Master. Ding, Fuxu mood value plus 600. And looking at the extremely familiar scene of Chuxu's health being increased to 7,000 LP, and then instantly cleared to 0 by the Dark Mage summoned by Jiang He. Wang Jingmu was also holding his head with sweat on his face, feeling that he had also been awakened by some terrible memory. Is this to help the senior in the Heavenly Academy wake up the memory, or to help him wake up the suffering experience that he doesn't want to think about anymore? Brother, how do you feel? Tianqingyu and Asuka quickly asked with a headache. I seem to remember a little more. It seems that I have been to a place where the tomb guards live in the world of dueling monsters and elves before, and they had a dark duel there. Chuxu held his head in Tianqingyuan and slowly recalled a little bit of what he said. It seems that this kind of stimulation really has some effect. Mr. Ayukawa and Ryo Kaiser Maruto couldn't help but nodded with slightly brighter eyes. Then let's try it a few more times, Senior Heavenly Academy. Jiang He smiled bewitchingly, raised his hand and took out several card groups, handsome spread out like a fan. Lava Demon card group, Yingxing card group, Disrupting card group. Seeing this, Asuka, Kaiser Maruto, and Ayukawa-sensei saw a drop of bean-sized cold sweat on their faces. Especially San's daddy, Yaocheng Judai and Wang Jingmu, after seeing those familiar decks that contained their previous suffering memories, the tactics with crazy sweat on their faces took a step back. They all looked at Chuxu in pity, who still knew nothing about it. This amnesiac senior from the Heavenly Academy obviously doesn't know what kind of terrible hell lies ahead. Asuka suddenly felt a headache. If the duel continues with Jiang He, her brother won't recover a little bit of memory, but will suffer from new problems like high blood pressure and cerebral congestion. Wait until just a quarter of an hour later. Biffed Fubuki in the sky was full of loveless expressions and was carried to the health care room to recuperate with the help of Kaiser Maruto, Ryo, and Hayato. Ended being tormented by Jiang He's nether deck 5 times in a row. Even Yaocheng Judai, Wang Jingmu, and San's daddy, who were just looking at each other, had expressions that couldn't bear to look directly at them. I'm about to suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Regarding this, Jiang He still had a little bit of smack in his mouth. Although she didn't finish her sentence, Jiang He still didn't have a hard time hearing what Asuka wanted to say. It's just about those memories before being possessed by darkness. I don't know why I still don't remember anything at all. But fortunately, these 5 consecutive rehabilitation training duels have already earned him nearly 2,000 emotional points. That's really the case. Tianqingyu and Asuka suddenly clenched her fists and frowned. Jiang He, is it possible for my brother's previous memories? Tianqingyu and Asuka also guessed something at once and asked Jiang He with some hesitation. But fortunately, although she has endured some tossing, at least her brother has recovered a little part of his memory. Jiang He said that it would be great if the future brother-in-law could last a little longer. Then how can I get the part of brother Asuka's memory that was sealed over there? Minju's 2 girlfriends, Junko and Miaohui, couldn't help asking Jiang He. The happy duel time is always so short. In order to facilitate better control of the body, the other party is still locked in a certain place in the dark duel ceremony space of the abandoned dormitory. This guy is really too evil. The others also looked at Jiang He curiously, and also successfully helped Asuka's brother, Tenshingen Fubuki, recall most of the things he experienced while being possessed by darkness. He just used half of the dozen or so card sets he exchanged earlier. To say that they know the best about the dark duel and some rumors, Jiang He seems to be the only guy on their side. He also nodded. He gave an affirmative answer and said, if I didn't guess wrong, your brother's memory is very likely to be possessed by darkness before. Noticing Jiang He's regretful expression, Tianqingyu and Asuka suddenly couldn't laugh or cry since that's where brother Asuka became the 7 stars dark duelist. Then the temporary control of the dark duel ceremony space should be in the hands of the 7-star dark forces. Regarding the questioning eyes of Asuka and the others, after recalling the situation in his impression, Jiang He said with certainty. So just wait until later, when the 2 remaining 7-star dark duelists appear. It should be enough to set the bet on the dark duel with them as the memory of the seniors in the Heavenly Academy. Jiang He remembered that in the original trajectory, part of the memory of his future brother-in-law Tianqingyu Chuxu was sealed. Now he should have been depressed by him for a while before, and then he was swallowed into the dark duel ritual space in a coma, the old hapless guy. Hand of the fake dark duelist titan. In the end, do you still need to go through the dangerous way of a dark duel to get back your brother's memory? 27 Tianqingyuan Asuka said with a heavy expression. But at this moment, she suddenly had some hope that the two remaining 7-star dark duelists could appear sooner. Then find a way to defeat one of them as soon as possible and regain her brother's memory. Otherwise, even as it is now, through Jiang He's way, he recalled some of his previous experience as a dark duelist. But she still can't remember anything about her and her former family members. From time to time, it will be painful because of the vacancy of memory. Don't worry, I will help when the time comes. Jiang He gave a thumbs up to Asuka, the heavenly court, and said comfortingly, then without waiting for her to say anything, she waved her hand and left here first. Since there's nothing else going on here, I'll go to bask in the sun for a while. In the past few days, the incidents of the 7-star dark duelists have appeared one after another. It is rare that nothing has happened until now. Jiang He naturally planned to take advantage of the rare weather and take the little guy with chestnut balls to bask in the sun. As for Tianqingyuan Asuka, she must stay in the health room to take care of her brother. But before Asuka could say what she said, all she could see was the back of Jiang He leaving the health room. Asuka, that guy Jiang He is really reliable when it's really critical. Junko, who is one of the two close friends of Tianqingyuan Asuka, the red short-haired Junko, also looked at this scene and said immediately, "That's right, it's rare for me to feel handsome in addition to the terrible impression of the underworld deck before." Beihui nodded and said. Then he glanced at the other side, and the remaining Yu Cheng Judai, San's daddy, Wang Jingmu and others added a word of disgust. At least compared to those guys over there who didn't express themselves verbally at all, they are obviously much more handsome. Although it is a dangerous thing like a dark duel, it is quite normal to show nothing. But it would be nice to say a word or two of comfort. Yu Cheng Judai and San's daddy, who were lying on their guns suddenly, were all stunned. Then soon some eggs hurt, wanting to defend myself. They also wanted to say, but the key point is that the key to the 7-star gate that they originally kept is gone. He couldn't participate in the dark duel with the two 7-star dark duelists after that. Even if I want to say it, I don't have that chance at all. If they also say comforting words like that guy Jiang He did just now, wouldn't that be obviously a lie? Well, although we also want to help, our key to the 7-star gate has been taken away, so we can't participate in the future at all. San's daddy raised his hand and said honestly, it's the same on my side. Yu Cheng Judai scratched his head in embarrassment. However, if the seniors of the Heavenly Academy agree to hand over the key to the 7 stars gate that they kept in custody, and let me carry out the duel instead, I will definitely help. Ask for flowers. Even when he was talking, the expression on Yu Cheng Judai's face immediately cheered up. It ignited the card player's obsession with playing cards. But doesn't Manjamu still have the key? At this moment, Sho Marto suddenly saw Manjamu standing beside him with his hand in front of him and said immediately, and it's not Jiang He, especially after feeling the strange gazes of other people, all falling on him. With her character, it is impossible to do it, relying on other people's responsibility for her own responsibility. Give up this opportunity to be handsome to Jiang He. In an instant, I really wanted to kill Maruto Sho, a little man with a prickly head like him. With a confident expression on his face, Wan Zhangmu said with his eyes closed and his fingers akimbo. But now that you've already said that, I'll say it unceremoniously. And the others, when he said with his hands on his hips and closed his eyes, had already left for an unknown amount of time. 4. Senior Tianqingyuan, for your brother's memory, give me 1/10,100,000 thousands of lightning. When Wang Jingmu finished speaking with a humming smile, during the Tania incident before, he really wanted to go to the duel. No, instead of keeping the keys or something, let's forget it. But Asuka of the Heavenly Court directly rejected this proposal. Wanzhang's whole body stiffened even more. As for the memory of the senior elder brother in the Heavenly Court, I will of course help, but just now I felt that if I spoke out, I would definitely be rejected, so I didn't open my mouth. Wan Zhangmu froze all of a sudden. Then in the blink of an eye, he was stunned to realize that he was the only one left in the entire classroom of the healthcare class before long. Wan Jingmu finally said with some pain.
Hello, everyone. As we wrap up this video, I want to share a quick note. I have a Patreon account. If you'd like to support me and enjoy on-demand audiobooks, you can become a Patreon member. Alternatively, you can check out my Google Drive link, which has 500+ novel audiobooks available through my Ko-fi or Patreon shop. I appreciate your support.